Civil War, weirdly, in week 3, coming up in 4.5 hours. Game 3 of the 2024 season. Andy Dirk Johnson with you, Anthony Newman hanging out. And usually, Q, I got to wait till the end of the year for this, but we might as well get it out of the way right out of the gate. And it's a yearly tradition on this show to remind the kind folks out there, what was Anthony Newman's record in the Civil War?
Never lost to the Beavers. 4-0.
4-0, baby.
4-0, baby.
4-0.
3 interceptions my senior year, going out.
Where did that rank on your career?
Was
that number one for you?
Number one. You know, I had a hard time with Oregon State. I just didn't. So to end that game with 3 picks, yeah.
And to finish undefeated and to have that game your senior year. Now, was the last one at Autzen?
No, it was
in Corvallis.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes it even better too.
It
was their senior day, and you're coming away with 3 picks to ice the game.
Oh yeah,
woo, buddy.
A lot of fun.
Well, hopefully we can do. Somebody in the secondary is going to have 3 picks today because that'd be nice.
Yes.
Let's turn the page back. We always do this to kind of open the show up. We got a lot to get to in the next 2.5 hours as we get closer to kickoff. But it's interesting. I mean, I looked at this game all summer, Anthony, and I thought, man, what a mismatch. It's going to be a bloodbath. Oregon State's losing all this talent. Oregon's this juggernaut coming into the year. And you look up 2 games in, and Oregon is not playing great football. Now, the silver lining of it is you've gotten away with it, and you're finding ways to win games. And so you're 2-0. And there are times I feel like we're talking about this team as an 0-2 football team out of the gate because they just haven't looked very good. But as you've had some time to kind of now a week to digest what you saw against Boise State and a 37-34 final walk-off field goal win from Attica Sappington, what are kind of the lingering thoughts for you from that second game of the season last Saturday night?
You know, I'm not panicking. And the reason why is because the ceiling is still so high. There's so much talent on that football team. They're explosive if they want to be. I think they're getting in, their way. They create mistakes that they shouldn't create. And then when you look at this football team, there's a lot of new guys. And I think that's happening across the nation with all these, transfer portal guys just leaving. All of a sudden now you think you're going to be a star. You think you're going to have a great football team. And you just got there in 1 year. It's hard to build a good football team that you have that rapport with your teammates. So that's the problem right now. I wouldn't panic. I mean, yes, they've been close games. Good football teams find a way to win, period. When you're struggling, you still win.
Yeah. Oregon
is 2-0.
And that's where it almost – like the main positive I'm trying to take out of it, because it has been a less than stellar start to the year, and I'm with you. I don't think it's quite time yet to fully burn the house down and run out because we're all terrified. I think there is something to finding ways to win games and what you can learn about yourself in close games late and just having to come up with a play or come up with a stop or kicking a game-winning field goal where I think there's a hope there for me, and I'm wondering how you feel about this, of that if you are able to hit your stride and you do start winning games maybe in the manner that we're hoping that you can. I mean, the reality for their next 3 opponents before Ohio State, none of them are juggernauts. Oregon State's off to a good start. They're 2-0, but Oregon is the more talented team in this game. And that'll be the case likely against UCLA in 2 weeks and likely against Michigan State. But there can be, I think, a positive of having to play in those uncomfortable situations and having to find ways to come up with plays in all 3 phases to win, which is what they had to do last week.
Well, yeah, and they talk about these type of games when you get a game like this, you understand how to win. It builds character. But how much character do you need?
Yeah, if we filled up, can we fill up the meter? Are we done?
Are we done?
I think we have enough character now.
Are we done with
Can
that?
we just win by 40,
Thank you.
Play some backups.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Do what Wes Lynn did last night. Can we get some freshmen into the game here? Can we get some sophomores into the game, man?
We had a lot of people playing last night.
Deep down in the depth chart.
Matter of fact, we had a running clock. I wish we can get that in college.
Yeah, that running clock would be delightful today, man. I would say for my heart health, I would prefer that as well today. Just, can we not be stupid today? That would be an ideal thing to do.
Exactly.
The elephant in the room is undoubtedly the offensive line, and it's hard to parcel it out because they haven't played great, but I also don't know at times how much of the offensive line woes are on either backs not picking the right hole or picking their legs up when they're going through the hole. How much of some of these sacks, I mean, the stats are out there now. They've given up 7 sacks through 2 games. They gave up 5 through all of last season. And I think Bo in his 2 years in Eugene was only sacked 10 times. And so that's an alarming number, but I'm also watching them from time to time, and it feels like some of those sacks are on the quarterback where he's not identifying a pressure or he's not understanding it's a zero blitz and I got to have a hot route ready to go here and I can't just stand pat look and I'm going to get drilled in the back. When you look at the offensive line, what are you seeing on film now through 2 weeks? Because I know that's the group we're all circling again going into this game.
Well, I think we talked about it at the beginning of the year. It's a new offensive line. Oregon's been spoiled with the center. Okay, it was Alex at first, and then Jackson Powers. I mean, come on, and what's that? The last 8 years,
basically, yeah. I mean, Forsythe felt like a 3-year starter, and JPJ was like a 3-year starter. Yeah,
exactly. And then so now you have a new offensive line in which, when you're talking in football, that group needs to build a rapport. They have to build chemistry. They have to be able to talk to each other without talking to each other. Yeah. They know each other, and they don't. And then you have a new quarterback at the same time. Yes, Dylan Gabriel's a great quarterback. He can do all the things as a quarterback can do, throw the football, but can he pick up protection in the offense that Will Stein's running? Can he figure out what's going on? Who's blitzing? Who's coming off hot? So we don't know behind closed doors what the protection is. So we sit there and we look like, well, what's that? What's going on there?
Why are you blocking that guy?
Really? Maybe it's on the quarterback. And so that's why I said don't panic. It takes time. And once you get rolling, now I talked to a good friend of mine who is not really a good friend of mine, my son-in-law, Jaden Grant. I talked to him last night, and then I said, so, are you excited to see this Oregon State game? And he's like, yeah. He goes, well, we're happy to see them Oregon now instead of November. Yeah, because they know in November Oregon is going to be clicking. Trying to catch them early. Let's catch this good football team early when they're trying to figure things out. He's smart. That's right.
There's definitely something to that. And I think the other part of it is one of the things that Lanning has been able to build is depth on the roster to a level that we haven't really seen. Now, you haven't seen a ton of guys play because they've been in a lot of these tight ball games early on, but there's a lot of young, talented players on this roster that are kind of waiting for their opportunity. And that's the other thing that when you play this game at the end of the year, one of the main advantages that Oregon would have over an Oregon State is the depth. In Oregon State, because of what they lost last offseason, you might be okay and you're 1 and 2 deep, but if 2-3 guys go down and now you're trying to shuffle and that third guy isn't quite up to par with this standard of play, that's where the advantage could come in later in the year. And to your point and Jaden's point, that's not quite the case yet. Now, they do have an injury on the offensive line, so it's like, hey, Oregon State, welcome to the club, figuring out how to play without a starting offensive lineman. And so one of their guards, who was a force up front for them, and that is the strength of that football team, he is going to miss the game and miss the rest of the season. You hate to see those injuries happen.
That's tough.
But I think you mentioned the continuity up front and the communication up front. I think that's something that a lot of people, I don't know if take for granted is the right phrase, but just don't quite understand how much communication it takes when you're calling checks at the line of scrimmage and making sure that everybody is on the same page, because Lanning has used this phrase a lot the first 2 weeks of the season, and that is, and this as a coach, if you got 1 of 11 not doing their job, that's all that it takes for a play to blow up, for a sack to be given up, for a penalty to happen. Like that's all that it takes. And same thing on defense. You got one guy in the secondary who's running a cover 2 and everybody else running a cover 3 because he's not on the same page, didn't get the right check. All of a sudden you're gonna have a dude wide open down the field. And that's where I'm hoping as time goes on, they get to that point where the communication is there, because I think when you highlight Alex and when you highlight JPJ, those are guys who are long-term starting centers for Oregon. Right. They were in the system. They knew the communication. There was a confidence there in what they were doing. And Oregon's been rotating at center, and so far it does seem like all 5 guys at times are just not quite on the same page communication-wise. And that's a big challenge, I think, when you're going on the road, not communicating well, to make sure that is buttoned up. Because if you're not communicating today, well, Oregon State's going to come get after you.
Well, here's the thing. As a defense, your ultimate goal is trying to confuse the offense, because you need to find an advantage. You need to find something that can help you, because you're at a disadvantage. You don't know the play. Yep. You don't know what's going on. So you need to find some things, some indicators. Something's going to tell you what they're going to do, and then confuse them. And so with the offensive line that's young or they haven't played well together, they have to be on point, because the defense is going to move. They're going to slide. They're going to slant. They're going to bring linebackers. And they have to know who's picking up who, because if you have the best quarterback in the world, but your O-line cannot block, he's not getting the ball down the field.
No, no, that's
And
an
you're not
issue.
and you're not running the game, running the ball.
Right.
So it's a problem.
And that's the tough part. It's just there hasn't been a lot of balance, and there hasn't,
No.
it's one of those things where I feel like when Oregon's offense can just simply not be stupid and just get out of their own way.
Yeah, don't hurt themselves.
They were firing at a pretty decent clip last weekend,
yes.
and there were explosive plays, and that was really nice to see. And then you'd have a drive followed up by explosive play, touchdown with penalty, and it's 3rd and 34. And when they have a possession where they can avoid costly, dumb penalties. And, I don't know, not snapping the ball when the quarterback's not ready for it. This was an offense that was actually functioning at a decent clip. They just got to stop shooting themselves in the foot.
It's being consistent.
Exactly.
Can they be consistent in 4 quarters of football? If you can be consistent, then you're unstoppable.
Yeah.
And right now you're beating yourself because you have one series that you drive down, you look like the best team in the world. Right. And the next series you look like
3 and out.
Like
4 penalties.
What was that? Like, and then everybody's scratching their head like, wait, what?
What the hell's the matter, man?
So you got to be consistent.
I think that's the key word for today, consistent. And I want to talk about that when we come back on the other side of the ball, because there was a lot of really good things on Saturday night against Ashton Genty. And then you look up at the end of the game and the dude's got 192 yards because they weren't consistent. And so let's talk a little bit about the defense that Oregon is bringing to the table. We are just getting started. We got a ton to get to. You're going to hear from Mike Doc Parker coming up in a bit, the longtime voice of Oregon State. You're going to hear from Dan Lanning. You're going to hear from Joey Harrington. Mike Jorgensen will jump on. So if you're driving down, here's what I will say. It's weird having this game in week 3. At least the weather gods are helping us out a little bit.
That's right.
You kind of wake up to it feels like a November morning a little bit, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
We got the sweatshirts on, a little chilly, a little bit of rain. So it at least feels like a November game.
I actually wore pants.
I got pants on too.
Me too.
Yeah, everybody's got pants on. Are your pants on?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the defensive side of the ball when we come back. We are just getting started all the way up until 10:30, and then we'll send you down to Corvallis. Before we talk that defense, now it is time for Ducks Game Day Traffic and Weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com. Here is Jeff Rust.
The drive down to Corvallis looking pretty smooth so far. No real slowing showing up at this point. There is a report of a smoky south of Arndt Road just before exit 278. Currently 60 and cloudy here in Portland. Clouds will stick around through the day with a high of 73, 55 and partly cloudy in Corvallis. Should be partly cloudy and 68 with just a slight breeze for the 12:30 kick at Reser Stadium. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day Traffic and Weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food.
Looking for an unforgettable escape this fall? Discover Legends Casino
All right, welcome back in. Oregon Ducks pregame show here on 1080 The Fan. Kickoff coming up right here on The Fan at 12:30 in Corvallis, Oregon and Oregon State. What is the 125th Civil War? Do I have that right, Jeff Russ? Did you fact check that for me?
I'll check it out, sure.
I think it's 125th, somewhere in that range. They played a lot of these over the years.
Yeah.
And I am glad that, I know a lot of Oregon State fans in the offseason didn't want this game to be played, and I don't blame them for feeling that way at all. It was an emotional time. You're left behind. You're not sure where your home's going to be. You feel betrayed. I don't blame them at all for it. I will say I think they're singing a little bit of a different tune after watching Oregon play for 2 weeks, now thinking they got a chance to win. Now they're excited the game's happening.
Yeah.
For a sense of normalcy, who knows where it goes in the years to come, it likely won't ever be the Saturday after Thanksgiving or the Black Friday after Thanksgiving again.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is weird, and it's something that we've all, whether you're Anthony or Jeff or me, we all have seen it our entire lives.
Yep.
But I'm at least glad, man. I'm glad that we get this small semblance of normalcy today, and we get to see orange and black, green and yellow on the field.
It's still a little strange because I'm glad I'm not playing because I haven't talked to my buddies about it. No one said anything about this game's happening. Like, is there any talk about wait, is it the Duck Beaver game going on?
The Civil War, man.
Yeah.
Looks like it'll be the 128th edition.
128th. I
okay.
shortchanged them a couple of years there.
Oregon holding a 68, 49, and 10 edge all time.
Okay.
Okay, and I got 4 of those victories.
And you got four. You
I
got 4 of those.
I just had to.
You're helping out the winning percentage there.
I had to add that.
You got to throw that in.
I got to throw that in.
They were doo-doo for those 4 years, and I sure as hell hope they're doo-doo again today.
Really?
I'm not coming to work Monday if Oregon loses this game.
Oh,
boy.
No.
I don't feel so good.
No, we can't talk about that.
No,
we can't go there.
Let's go to your side of the ball, Anthony.
Okay.
So, looking at Oregon's defense, I still have a high level of confidence in this group. Where are you at 2 games? Now, the Idaho game, they were dominant. You just gave up the trick play touchdown. This week was more of a mixed bag where there were times in that game where they looked like the dominant group that I thought they could be, and there were times in that game where a safety and a linebacker take the wrong angle, and Ashton Genty goes 70 yards untouched off of a turnover. What are you seeing from this group 2 weeks in?
They faced a running back that will be a high draft pick next year in the NFL draft. The kid can run. And so you have to give credit where credit is due. You can't stop great football players. You got to try to contain them. He's going to get his. Other than that, if you take the long run away from him, Oregon didn't do bad. They really didn't. When you look at this football team on the defensive side, Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle, the nose tackle for Oregon, he is a real dude. He is always in the backfield. And he's running sideline to sideline. You got a 320-pound kid just running, looks like a deer. I mean, he's hard to block. And it starts with the defense. It starts with that nose tackle, creating problems inside. And then the secondary looks outstanding. Brandon Johnson is a dude. He's playing corner, nickel, safety. He reminds me of a Patrick Chung, a little smaller, or Javon Holland.
Yeah.
He looks like that. He's all over the place. So there's a lot of promise. Again, the ceiling is high. At times they give up some stuff. They give up a little bit in the running game that you want to see, hey, let's be more stout against the run because you have to. If you're in the Big Ten, you got to stop. That's what they do. They run the football. But Oregon's going to be stout. They're going to be okay. They also have the same situation. New guys in the system trying to fill each other, trying to have that chemistry with each other, trying to understand the defense. Not a new defensive coordinator, but if you're a new guy, it's a new defensive coordinator with a new team. So you're trying to get the feel of what's going on. But the defense looks pretty good, to be honest.
I'm glad you brought up both those guys. Derek Harmon leads the country in quarterback pressures this year.
Yeah,
as an interior defensive lineman.
That's unreal.
You don't hear that very often.
They're always getting double teamed.
Always.
Jordan Birch, I believe, tied for third.
He's tied for third. Yeah, I mean those two guys are in the top 3, and one of them makes sense because he's an edge guy and he can get after. That's what we know of Jordan Birch.
Yes, exactly.
Derek Harmon was brought in more so to be some beef in the middle of the defensive line.
Correct.
And the fact, to your point, that he's living in the backfield, that's been a very good sign 2 weeks into the season. Because it all starts up front defensively, and you know that, and trying to find a way to slow down the run. And then Brandon Johnson, you can make an argument, man, through 2 games, he's been their MVP. That dude's been all over the field.
I know.
And he had a back-to-back play I'm sure you loved as a coordinator last week where there was a 3rd and short, and he was in the slot, and they called a route on him that he made a nice tackle, but he gave up the completion, and it was a 5-yard gain. They got the first down. And it was a teaching moment for him, and they had a 3rd down on the next series, and they went back to the exact same play, and what did he do? He broke it up. And it just showing that quick pickup of, okay, that's how they attacked me. I'm going to be ready for it this time. I'm going to go out and make a play. This secondary, I believe, leads the nation in passes.
Pass breakups.
Pass breakups.
Yes, they had 12 last week.
12 last week. Jabbar Muhammad felt like he had 5 himself. Brandon Johnson had a couple himself as well. So, to me, that's the one thing that is leaving me hopeful. I know we continue to talk about and harp on this slow start for Oregon, and they haven't looked like the team many people thought coming into the season so far. What I continue to go back to in the hopeful category is I am a firm believer in this defense, and I agree with your take on the way they played Genty last week. That dude had 25 carries for 192 yards in that game. So you look at the box score, that's a dominant performance. And when you're giving up 70-yard runs, I know Lanning got pissed about this, that counts. And so you can't say we only, defended him great for 90% of the time. If he's taking 70 yards to the house, that still counts on the board and he's getting the touchdown. But when he had 25 carries last week, I believe the number was 13 of those carries were 3 yards or fewer.
Exactly.
And so it's there, and you know that it's there.
Yes.
And one of his long runs came on, I believe, 3 broken tackles 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Behind the line of scrimmage.
I think Harmon had a shot at him. Bossa had a shot at somebody else.
Bossa,
right there.
He doesn't miss tackles.
No.
And if he missed that tackle, this guy's a dude.
That tells you all you need to know about Ashton Genty.
Exactly.
And so that's where I'm kind of trying to hang my hat on 2 weeks into the year that, it's a woulda, coulda, shoulda, and that's a frustrating thing to hear as a fan because the reality is they gave up those runs and they gave up those yards and they gave up those points.
Yeah.
But when you got a guy who had basically 100 yards on 2 carries and then 90 yards on 23 carries, there's a glaring difference there, and you just need more of those 23 carry defense. That's what you need today because when you look at Oregon State, what are they going to try and do offensively?
Oh, yes. Run
the
the
football.
ball.
And so that front seven's going to have to bring it today in order to slow down Oregon State in that rushing attack. But I look at Oregon State's backfield. I think they got a couple of really good backs, and it's been funny to watch the Colorado transfer have a lot of success running the ball away from Colorado. I've gotten a good chuckle out of that. But at least, you can share thoughts on this, man, but you're not going to face a better back than that all season. That guy might be a Heisman finalist, and to your point, maybe a first-round NFL draft pick.
There's no way. No. I mean, there's good running backs out there, and they're going to face some good running backs. But he's different. And there's only so many guys who are going to go play pro football. You're not going to have all the college kids play pro football.
Nope.
There's only so many. So when you look at this guy, he's not only going to play pro football, he's going to get drafted really, really, really high.
Yeah.
The kid is a dude. And you can't stop those guys. You shouldn't. If he's that good.
Yeah, he should find a way to get a couple runs in on you.
Yes, and he did that.
You're not going to shut him down for 25 straight carries. He's
going
to break one eventually.
No.
And it should be noted too that that long 70-yard touchdown run, what did it come off of? Came off of a turnover.
Yes, indeed.
All of a sudden,
we call it sudden change.
Sudden change. Defense over there having a nice water break.
Relaxing.
Talking about, hey, look at this guy on the 4th row. We got a 7-point lead. We're ready to pull away. Hey, wait, get your helmet.
Sudden change.
You're on the field. Oh, what? Now I take a wrong angle, and he's untouched for 70 yards.
He's gone.
See you later. So a lot of good there, I think, for Oregon's defense, and we'll start diving a little bit more into this matchup today between Oregon and Oregon State, but that's where I'm hanging my hat on the optimistic angle. That's my one thing I'm leaning on. I think this is a good defense, and I think they have the ability to be an even better defense than what they've shown the first 2 weeks, and we'll see how they face this challenge today. We'll dive into the injury report and let you know anything that we know about the offensive lineman. Will Matthew Bedford play today? That guy, for a guy who's never taken a snap in a Duck jersey, has become a very popular Duck,
yes.
And we'll see if he's going to be in the lineup today. We'll go behind enemy lines in a matter of moments with Mike Doc Parker, the longtime voice of Oregon State football. Let's just kind of reset things and start diving into the matchups. What do we like and not like about the game between Oregon and Oregon State? Kickoff is coming up 12:30 right here on the Fan. Hope you're enjoying the drive down if you're heading down to the game, and it should be a beautiful fall afternoon for football. 12:30 kick right here on the Fan. Before we reset things, now it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather. Every 10 minutes brought to you by Victorico's Mexican food. Order Victorico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victoricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
The drive down to Corvallis looking pretty clear so far. Maybe a little bit of rubbernecking slowdown just south of the river after passing through Wilsonville. Reports of a smoky near that accident. currently 60 and cloudy here in Portland. Clouds will stick around through the day with a high of 73, 55 and partly cloudy in Corvallis. Should be partly cloudy and 68 with just a slight breeze for the 12:30 kick at Reser Stadium. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather. Every 10 minutes brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
When you switch and save with Progressive, you could use that money towards going to see your favorite team in the playoffs. Progressive cannot guarantee that you can go see your favorite team in the playoffs. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds on average, but we cannot guarantee that your favorite team will make the playoffs or even finish with a winning record. They could easily lose more than half their games and finish in the cellar because they stink badly and haven't made the playoffs in years. Savings? Very possible. Playoffs? Highly doubtful. Switch and see if you could save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance and Affiliates. Not available in all states. We cannot be held liable for your favorite team's terrible and frankly embarrassing performances now or ever.
From the mind of a 2-foot-tall talking spokes puppet comes this year's biggest challenge. It's time for Bob's Dare to Compare, the hottest game show on TV that asks, what happens when you compare Bob's to the competition? You get style. You get quality. You get beeps and boops and dings and whomps. And thousands of dollars in savings. Everyone's a winner when you dare to compare with Bob's Discount Furniture. Shop in store or at mybobs.com to play now.
This is the story of the one. As a warehouse manager, her job is to transform chaos into clarity and to see patterns where others see problems. Luckily, she's got a partner who shares her perspective. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products, backed by real person support and in-depth online resources, so she can tackle every task with precision and turn potential setbacks into streamlined success. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Window Nation customers have been singing our praises for years. With fast local service for Portland residents and a 96% customer satisfaction rating, the highest in the industry, it's no wonder. Here are real stories, real results from satisfied customers in the Portland area.
Love the invisible window screens and never having to worry if I locked my windows when we leave. Renee was very professional, personable, funny, and amazing.
Amazing workers. They did a fantastic job. Super fast and efficient. They finished the whole job in 2 days. My windows look great. I am very happy with everything.
Window Nation's highly durable, energy-efficient, customizable windows are built to last a lifetime. Right now, get 2 windows free with every 2 you buy. Pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. But hurry, this offer ends soon. Schedule a fast in-home free estimate now. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90-NATION. 866-90-NATION.
The definitive podcast for Oregon Ducks football fans is here. The program, A Ducks Podcast, is a deep dive on Ducks football with the coaches, the players, and your favorite Duck stars of the past. Hosted by Dusty Hara and former Duck star Cole Linehan.
Dan Lanning.
Don't waste a day. Internally, it's about us being the best team that we can possibly be. Certainly we have goals and aspirations, but those start with being great where you're at.
Get the program, A Ducks Podcast, on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Ducks Game Day continues.
Catch and return. Woodington's going to go back. 10, gets a crease, 20, bumps into a player, cuts off a 30, gets outside. He's got some speed and a block. He's at the 50. He's got a block and speed. 1 man to beat. 30. There's the block. It's a 10. That's a touchdown, Oregon. Noah Whittington.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day, an insider's preview of today's game between the Oregon Ducks and the Oregon State Beavers. Oregon Ducks football on 1080 The Fan is brought to you by Coors Light, Pacific Office Automation, Mods PDX, Victor Rico's Mexican Food, Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish, by Zoom Care, Bellagio's Pizza, Multnomah County Behavioral Health Division, Audi Wilsonville, Laurelhurst Market, by Unitas Community Credit Union, and by Langdon Farms Golf Club. Now, here are your hosts, Andy Johnson, Dusty Hara, and former Ducks and NFL star Anthony Newman, with Ducks Game Day on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Good morning, Dirt.
Good morning. Welcome back in, everybody. Hope your Saturdays are off to a great start. It's a college football Saturday. How could it not be off to a great start? Even though the slate today, a little bit of doo-doo, I think we could say probably a little doo-doo out there today.
Very.
Not a lot going on.
Nothing. They're doo-doo.
But they are doo-doo, and it at least gives you the opportunity to get a lot of eyeballs on your game today. You're on Fox at 12:30, and boy, oh boy, you are not competing against much today in the old college football slate. So I think you're going to have a lot of eyeballs on Oregon and Oregon State rivalry games. We usually do that to people. We'll hear from Mike Doc Parker coming up in a matter of moments, the longtime voice of Oregon State. He hopped on with Sprague and I yesterday, and always love talking to Doc. So you'll hear what he had to say about their quarterback down in Corvallis, who to me is a big part of this matchup. And, I kind of want to pick up where we left off, Anthony, talking about Oregon's defense, because I've had a lot of buddies this week text me, Dirt, how you feeling? Where are your thoughts going into the game? Gotten a lot of that. Duck fans are doing a little bit of soul searching after the first 2 weeks of the season, looking for confidence and looking for optimism. The one group that I'm going to focus on the most, I think, going into this game, like, if you tell me Oregon's offense has a rough go, I'm not surprised. They've had a rough go the first 2 weeks,
right.
And there's penalties, and maybe they're not running the football efficiently. Like, all right, I've seen that through 2 weeks, so I'm not going to be shocked by it. The group that I think is the one that gives you confidence going into this game, if you're a Duck fan, is their front seven, and it is their defense. Because Oregon State, while the rushing statistics look good, they came against Idaho State and San Diego State, and so I know Oregon's going to be more stout than them. And to me, I don't know if you agree with this, but they feel a little one-dimensional on offense. And so as a defensive coordinator, I'd imagine the idea going in is let's make them play with their weakness and make them beat us with their weakness. And if you could do that, I do like Oregon's chances to pull away today.
Oh, yeah. You're going to stop the running game against Oregon State. And that's what they have. That's what they live on. Yeah. And they've always really lived on that.
Even under Jonathan Smith, that's what they were.
Yes. Yeah. You have to stop the running game. And with Oregon State's offense this year, new quarterback, bunch of new receivers, some offensive linemen that are stuck in there that haven't played. That's not their forte. That's not their strength. They want to run the football. And you take away the running game and now make them throw the football, it's a different story. And I'm thinking about this game. And I talked to a few of my Oregon State friends, a few of them.
Little inside intel.
It's like the sleeping giant or your big brother. Your big brother's laying on the couch and he's sleeping. And you go over there and you slap him in the face. Okay, and then you walk away and you're like, oh, he didn't wake up. And you slap him again. So you're getting all these slaps in because you think, oh, well, I can take care of him. And then the last time you go slap him, he wakes up before you slap him and grabs your hand. That's Oregon State right now. I'm telling you right now.
Is it grabbing that hand?
They're thinking, okay, this giant is sleep. This Oregon football team is sleep.
We got a shot.
They're not playing good. We have a shot. But now, no, Oregon's going to wake up.
Nope, and that's the hope today in a rivalry game. Sometimes I've seen this take this week, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, Anthony. And that is that sometimes going on the road can get the focus of your team, getting away from home, getting away from the distractions. Now, there's a whole different set of problems that comes with it: the crowd noise, the communication. Like there are issues with playing on the road, momentum swings, and all that. They're different when you're on the road than when you're at home, but I've seen a lot of that this week of maybe getting away from Autzen Stadium can get this group to lock in and click a little bit better. Have you seen that with teams that you've been on or coached in the past?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Because, you have to understand as a player, okay, when we go to an opposing stadium, we can't hear anything. It's a distraction. We have to focus. Yeah. And that's the hardest thing to do in football is to focus. And if you can focus and then play at your level, then things should be okay. And that's the thing with Oregon. Just play at your level. Don't beat yourself. No. And that's what's been going on. You're beating yourself.
They are a couple of plays away from each of those first two games. You look back against Idaho, the possessions at the end of the first half, the fourth downs and all that, to kind of separating and making that more a comfortable win. And then last week against Boise State, you got a 27-20 lead in the fourth quarter. You're driving on the Boise State 30-yard line to go up by 2 scores, make them a one-dimensional offense. And Patrick Herbert, who's been an awesome Duck for 4 years, I don't think the dude's ever fumbled in his career. I can't think of a fumble.
It's a great tackle.
He fumbles a great. He puts his helmet right on the football, knocks it out, and it's just one of those plays that if you don't do that, you maybe go up by 10 or you go up by 14.
Yeah.
You win the game maybe more comfortably. You're coming in this week feeling a little bit different. The conversation's different. Instead, the fumble happens. Stop shooting yourself in the foot because you can't do it on the road. That's for damn sure. It's going to be a tough environment today down in Corvallis. We have some other thoughts on this matchup, including explosive plays in the run game, something that Oregon needs to find a way to get going. So we'll get to that coming up in a little bit. You got the injury report right around the corner. Let's hear, though, from Mike Doc Parker, the longtime voice of the Oregon State Beavers. He hopped on with Sprague and I yesterday. He had some thoughts on their quarterback play, and we'll talk a little bit about that coming up next. But now it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victorico's Mexican food. Order Victorico's for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victoricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
The drive down to Corvallis looking pretty clear so far. Maybe a little bit of rubbernecking slowdown just south of the river after passing through Wilsonville due to an accident. No reports of Smokies, though, otherwise at this point. It's currently 60 and cloudy here in Portland. Clouds will stick around throughout the day with a high of 73. It's 55, partly cloudy in Corvallis. Should remain partly cloudy, and 68 with just a slight breeze for the 12:30 kick at Reser Stadium. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican food.
For over 45 years, Pacific Office Automation has been providing winning strategies to help businesses come out on top. That's why the Oregon Ducks choose Pacific Office Automation as their office technology partner. If you run a business and want to find out how to improve your business processes and costs, contact us today to receive a free technology assessment. Whether it's managed print services, IT services, or data security, Pacific Office Automation has your game plan. Pacific Office Automation. Problem solved.
When people have a craving to explore new and traditional Asian cuisines, they head to P.F. Chang's, where scratch-made dishes come from the 2,000-year-old tradition of wok cooking. P.F. Chang's wanted to explore new possibilities for their website. They turned to AmericanEagle.com. AmericanEagle.com re-architected P.F. Chang's website, integrating multiple third-party systems to create a unified digital experience. The results? Improved page speed and performance, personalized content based on users' location, intuitive online ordering, and increase in organic search visibility, and a 40% increase in new users. For scratch-made Asian cuisine, visit your local P.F. Chang's or go to pfchangs.com for website design, development, digital marketing, and hosting that produce efficiency, revenue, and results. Visit AmericanEagle.com. P.F. Chang's and AmericanEagle.com. Another example of the best businesses in the world, turning to the best in the business for websites. Go to AmericanEagle.com or call 877-WEB-NOW1. That's 877-WEB-NOW1.
Drive home in the Audi SUV of your dreams at Audi Wilsonville. Now through September 30th, get 0.99% APR for up to 60 months with no down payment on a new Audi Q4 e-tron or Q5e. Upgrade your driving experience with a luxury electric SUV from Audi Wilsonville.
For highly qualified customers through Audi Financial Services. Available on select new unused 2024 Audi models. Not all customers will qualify for credit approval or advertised APR. Offer ends 9/30/24. Subject to credit approval by Audi Financial Services. Visit Audi Wilsonville for details.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day. Mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
Here's the sweep, the fly sweep, and the double. Oh, the ball's loose. Oregon might have a chance and will get on it back at the 23-yard line.
This is Behind Enemy Lines. A look at Ducks opponents with the insiders who know them best. On the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
All right, time to go behind enemy lines, and let's hear from Mike Doc Parker, longtime voice of Oregon State. It is funny, the difference, or the intermingling, if you will, in this rivalry. Mike Doc Parker went to college at Oregon.
Yes, he did.
And now he's
Andy.
Yes, he did. Thank you, Doc. and then like Rich Brooks was a Beeve, right?
Yes,
he was an Oregon State guy.
Yes.
And who else? Somebody that is Otson himself was like a Beeve or something like that. There's another weird story like that. Yeah. That you get the intermingling between the two teams. That's the beauty of an in-state rivalry. That's why I'm so glad it's getting played.
That's why it's the Civil War.
Exactly. That's why brother against brother, right? So Mike Doc Parker hopped on with us yesterday, and big question I would have if I'm a Beaver fan and trying to find a way to win this game is, what are you going to get from your quarterback and your passing game, which was a little bit better last week than it was in week one, but the numbers don't necessarily jump off the page. Here is Mike Doc Parker talking about Giovanni McCoy and how, 2 games into the season, he's still a bit of an unknown.
It's still an open question. It certainly has not been answered completely. 140 plays, 109 times running the ball, and why not? Because they've ran it very effectively behind a pretty cohesive offensive line that did take a blow with Tyler Bolton out for the year, the starting right guard. But Kyle Devan, the O-line coach, has been rotating players in, and I think Flavio Gonzalez has a guy that can pick up and continue to perform well. They've been getting good push and movement, and the running backs have shown vision. Save for one time, they've also secured the ball and really have had a powerful run game and haven't asked Giovanni, haven't needed him to do a great deal in the passing game.
So they haven't had to ask him to do much. Week 1, they had 2 touchdown drives against Idaho State in week 1, in which they literally ran the ball on every play. Just hand it off, 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 touchdown. And that was the strength again for them against San Diego State. They rushed for 237 yards as a team. And he was 16 of 26 for 180 yards. He did have the 1 touchdown. They did have a long pass that was dropped. They called it flea flicker. It was wide open. The dude dropped it. He came back and made a play a little bit later on. Here is Mike Doc Parker on what Giovanni McCoy does well that they've seen through 2 games.
The one thing that I was encouraged by last week at San Diego State, that 98-yard drive required some. I mean, they didn't just run it 98 yards. In fact, a couple of the big plays, when they got to 2nd and 25, that looked like that drive was going to be, dead. And they were going to have to punt the ball back, still only up 1 score. And on back-to-back plays, Giovanni hit some big-time throws to get into Aztec territory, complete the drive, and go on to dominate from there and win it 21-0. But not only those types of throws in those situations, I thought his accuracy and arm strength was better for me than I'd seen in either the spring or the fall camp, when I was thinking, what do we, what does Gundy have here? What do the Beavers have here in Giovanni McCoy? Well, what they had, it looked to me, on a number of throws, was the guy that lit it up for Idaho, particularly 2 years ago. 27 touchdowns, 7 INTs, and good accuracy. And the arm strength, guys, the ability to throw the hash mark opposite sideline outs to Taz Reddicks and David Wells Jr. Hard, accurate, good throws that I hadn't seen in the Idaho State game. And so it was enough. It was enough to convince me that Gundy's got some things up his sleeve that are going to help him continue to grow. We haven't seen the best of him yet. We haven't needed to. Probably will need to against a great secondary that leads the country, Oregon does, in passes defended. It's a really good, physical, long, talented, fast group.
And this is something that was Mike Doc Parker, voice of Oregon State. Dan Lanning has a phrase a lot that he says, offensively, they don't want to let people make them play left-handed and take away our strength and then not have something else that we can rely on. I would imagine for Tosh Lapoy, Lanning, and that defensive staff, the thought is, how many dudes can we put in the box? How do we shut down this run? And then if you can get them into 2nd, 8, and 3rd and longs, allow your rushers to get aggressive, to get after him. Now, you got to be careful because he can move a little bit and he can extend plays. And so you don't want to overextend in your rush lanes. But I imagine that is the entire focal point, is making them play, to those words, left-handed. Where take away your strength. McCoy hasn't had to show a ton. Doesn't mean he can't do it. Maybe he can. We'll find out today. But if you can bottle up the run, you make them beat you with their weakness. And I got to imagine, man, you're going into this game, you're trusting your corners on islands, and you're saying, let's go be aggressive at the line of scrimmage.
Well, with Oregon State, it sounds like you're guessing on your quarterback. I think he's okay. He made a couple of good passes. Well, that's not good enough when you play teams like Oregon. You got, Cal coming up later on. You got Washington State. You got Boise State. If you want to be a top program in the nation, you got to have your quarterback be able to play. Yep. And it's not just the running game. And when someone takes away the run, which Oregon is going to do, then McCoy has to come out and start throwing the football all over the place to some receivers that need to get their names out there because no one knows who they are, to be honest. I mean, if you really think about this thing. And, yeah, a running game is good. The running game is going to help a quarterback. It's going to open up the passing game for him. So if you keep running the football, you're doing a great job. But you got to be able to throw the ball when everybody starts to stack the box. And then you play a team that has good corners that can play man-to-man defense. Now you got to figure out what to do next.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that, honestly, in the Oregon-Boise State game on that long Trayshawn Holden touchdown. That was a 2nd or 3rd and short. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I mean, that was a man-on-man zero blitz. We're just, we got nobody back. We're coming after you. And you got to be able to, make a throw in that moment against that level of pressure. And they did. And once you break one tackle, guess what? Nobody home. You're going for a touchdown.
Right.
And so that's where I think you're curious, if you're an Oregon State fan, to see if can our passing game do that? If that's the way that Oregon defends us today. They do bring in their backup quarterback. He's going to play at least a series in this game. Just to note, Jabari Johnson, he is a better athlete than Giovanni McCoy, and he's had a couple of really nice rushes 2 games into the season. He only attempted 1 pass, but they're kind of doing the Aiden Childs thing they did a year ago where I believe it's the 3rd series of the game he is getting no matter how the first 2 series go.
Yeah.
So when he comes into the game, that's just when antennas go up. That dude's going to want to run the football and just be aware of that and everything that comes with it. And one of the things that did bite Oregon last week at times early in the game, I thought they settled in the second half, but one of the things that bit them early in that game was they were so keen on Ashton Genty that Boise State was able to hit him with a couple of play-action passes.
Yeah, that's right.
And everybody's
That's
eyes are in the
right.
backfield. Eyes are in the backfield, and, okay, here goes a tight end sneaking behind me. Uh-oh, there's a 15-yard gain.
Bad eyes.
And that's where I would imagine a teaching point for that defense of, that everybody's going to be keen on that run game, that you got to be aware of that because Ryan Gunderson, their offensive coordinator, they're not leaving anything in the bag this week. They're going to empty it out on you, and if they got some nice play-action looks, I imagine you're going to see some of those early, not only try and get some chunk plays, but also to settle their quarterback into the game.
And you're right. Ryan Gunderson, I like. He's a good guy. I know him well. He's got some things up his sleeve that he's going to use against Oregon's defense. And he knows that they're going to try to stack the box and stop the run. They understand that. And they're going to test the eyes, the eye discipline. We call it bad eyes. When it's a running play, you have a guy, you're a safety, you have a tight end, you're looking at the backfield, but your tight end's running down the field, and it's play action. Now you're beat.
Uh-oh.
That's too late then when you said uh-oh.
Not good.
not good at all.
When uh-oh comes out of your mouth, that's a big completion right there, man.
There's more than uh-oh that comes out your mouth.
That's right. Oh, there you go. So keep those eyes on your man on defense today for Oregon. It's going to be an interesting matchup. I'm hopeful that Oregon's defense can prove me right and play to the level and the standard that I think that they can play in this game. And if that's the case, it'll allow your offense a little bit of time to figure out some of their funks and their kinks and get going a little bit and maybe find a little bit of rhythm. I do want to get into explosive plays in the run game. That's something I want to highlight because it's something that Oregon has not had 2 weeks into the season. So we'll dive into that coming up in a little bit. Let's get to the injury report, though. Matthew Bedford, the guy who has become one of the most popular names out there. Will he play? Will he not play? We'll tell you what we know. That's coming up next. But now it is time for Ducks Game Day Traffic and Weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victorico's Mexican Food. Order Victorico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victoricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
The drive down to Corvallis looking pretty smooth so far. Maybe a little rubbernecking due to a northbound accident just south of the river after passing through Wilsonville at exit 282. Reports of a smoky right near Boone's Ferry. It's 61 and cloudy here in Portland. Clouds will stick around through the day. A high of 73, 56, and mostly cloudy in Corvallis. Should be partly cloudy in 68 with just a slight breeze for the 12:30 kick at Reser Stadium. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day Traffic and Weather. Every 10 minutes brought to you by Victorico's Mexican Food.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day.
We should have our guys available. Right now, we're still waiting to see. Have some guys that still have to get healthy.
This is the Zoom Care Injury Report. A look at the injuries that could impact today's game and the key matchups in college football. Brought to you by Zoom Care. With more than 20 neighborhood clinics in Oregon and Southwest Washington, Zoom Care offers convenient access to same-day urgent and emergency care, plus an expanded primary care team, currently accepting new patients. Schedule or learn more at zoomcare.com.
Time for the injury report. We will give you our lock of the week. That's coming up here in the next segment as we're getting closer and closer to kickoff between Oregon and Oregon State, the 128th Civil War down in Corvallis at 12:30. If you're watching on TV, it'll be on Fox. And, of course, you can hear the game right here on The Fan. Matthew Bedford, very popular man in these parts. Will he play? Will he not play? Here's what we know. As of last week, there was a lot of internal optimism that he would be able to go full in practice late in the week, and they were hoping that he would be cleared. That obviously did not happen. He did not play against Boise State. The Indiana transfer this week did get more live reps in the portions of practice that media was allowed in to see, going against ones and twos on the defensive line. So, make of that what you will. But again, there is returned optimism that Matthew Bedford will be able to play today. And I feel like, Anthony, just having the idea that you can settle down some of these rotations and get a firmer grasp on who our best five are up front.
Yeah.
And letting those guys, to your point earlier, build some continuity together will be incredibly helpful. So just for that reason, you got the game this week, and then they got a bye next week. So it's a great time to maybe give him a couple of series, see, and then if he's dinged up or a little bit sore coming out of it, you got an off week next week. And so it would be great to see consistency and continuity up front, and it sounds like Bedford is close once again to potentially playing today.
Well, here's the good thing. With him, he's a senior. He's a guy that has a lot of experience. To get him in the game would be great, but it's still, he's new. So it's going to take a while for him to get used to everybody else. So it's going to take some time, but his thing is that he has to get healthy. That's the bottom line. He has to get healthy so he can play at a high level. And right now, there's something holding him back.
Yeah, and it was one of those when he got hurt, you weren't quite sure exactly how long it was going to be out. And then like a week later in camp still, he was back at practice in pads. And so there was optimism of like, man, maybe this won't be as long of an injury.
Right.
But clearly it just takes time, and he's slowly getting there. So he was working. The media was writing all this stuff down, as they should, to let fans know. He was working against Aiden Breland, Elijah Rushing, and some offensive and defensive line drills this weekend. Dave Luley, another one of their offensive lineman who was out, who was a guy that was supposed to be a good depth piece for them and will see playing time when he is healthy. He was once again a limited participant when media was in to see, and was wearing trainers during the time that media watched. So Dave Luley likely not going to play today. Did you feel like, now we're on this, by the way, I should mention Gary Bryant, who is another guy who's not played a snap yet this year. It doesn't sound like he's going to be able to go this week, so I'm not quite sure what's wrong with him and why that's lingering. But the good news for Oregon is you got a lot of weapons on the outside. It'd be great to have Gary Bryant back, explosive player, but that's not a position that you're necessarily lacking in terms of talent. Did you feel like they kind of found a rhythm when they had Poncho in at center, Strother in at guard in the second half? It felt like that was more of their key rotation that they used up front. Now, they're saying they're still going to rotate guys, and I imagine if Bedford can't go, that Pickard will see playing time again at some point. But did it feel like at least there was a little bit of a better rhythm with that different five in the second half for them?
It did, but, you also have to throw in, the running backs. Are they seeing the holes that they need to see? We can't just all put it on the offensive line. Yeah. And when you talk about the quarterback, the protection, everybody right now, you're looking at the offensive line. What is going on? But no, it's just not the offensive line. It's the running backs. It's the quarterback. It's the whole offense. And again, you're talking about a new offense. When I say new, meaning you have a new quarterback. You have a lot of new offensive linemen. And there's still time to get it corrected, but you got to start getting it done quick.
Yeah, the clock's ticking.
Yeah, the clock is ticking.
You can only have so many weeks in a row where we're like, give them time.
Exactly.
Big one today to see if they have made some of those corrections. To your point, though, on the backs, I do think it's valid. Jordan James himself this week even said, that's on me, man. I got to break some of these tackles. I'm getting a guy one-on-one in a hole, and I got to make somebody miss. And he had a great game when you look at it last week, 17 carries, 102 yards. So for all the lamenting of their issues running the football, he is in both games averaged over 6 yards a carry this year. The problem that he has had in this running game and we can dive in a little bit more to this as the show goes on, they have not had an explosive run yet. They have not had a single run on the season longer than 20 yards. His longest in the game last week, James, again, 6 yards a carry, 102 yards on the night. Those are great numbers. Longest run was 12 yards.
Yep.
That was it.
Yep.
And some of that comes down to what? I got a safety right here, and I got to get around him because you can't block everybody in that formation.
Well, it's true. And you have to make the one guy miss, and they haven't been doing that. Yeah. And it's yards after contact. And with those guys last year, Jordan James, he was breaking all kinds of tackles.
Yeah, Bucky did that great too.
Oh, he did it. Oh, yeah, he was so good at it. But that's what's missing in the running game. There's holes there. You'll see a hole, and you see Jordan James go through there, and there's a safety, and it's a shoestring tackle.
Yeah.
Like, oh, come on, keep your feet.
Finds a way to trip him up, and we'll see if they can get that run game going. James has been good through 2 weeks of the season, but he even put some of that on himself. I got to break some of these tackles and create some of these explosive runs. But Matthew Bedford, again, we're all hopeful he's going to play. That's all we can tell you. We'll find out. I think Isaac and Suk asked him that this week. How's the offensive line going to look at the start of the game? And he said, why don't you turn on the game and find out at 12:30? So we'll all find out together at 12:30 who is Oregon's starting offensive line. The injury report brought to you by Zoom Care. With more than 20 neighborhood clinics in Oregon and Southwest Washington, Zoom Care offers convenient access to same-day urgent and emergency care, plus an expanded primary care team. Currently accepting new patients. Schedule or learn more at zoomcare.com. Let's get to our lock of the week. We'll take a look at the rest of the slate in college football. What are we confident that is going to happen today? I would like to know, and I went 2 for 2 on my locks last week. I had 2-0 weekend. Nebraska and the Cougs.
Oh.
So we'll see. We'll see when we can
Okay.
keep this hot streak
Okay.
rolling.
I mean, look, Nebraska was a pretty easy lock.
I'm just saying, it's a lock. What do you want from me, Russ? I don't make the point spread. I'm not Vegas. I'm not an insider here. We'll give you our locks of the week. That is coming up next. Ducks pregame show live on 1080 The Fan.
Finish. Legends Casino Hotel, within winning distance.
Well, sometimes you're just a genius, and I was last week. 2-0, no big deal. See what we can do this week. Locks of the week, it is not, and there's not a lot to choose from because there's not a lot of juicy matchups. It's not a very good day of college football. I know you've heard a lot of that this week, but there just isn't. Now, it should be noted that when we say that from time to time, you end up with chaos. Last week was kind of the same thing. You had a bad weekend in football, and then Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois.
Oh, no.
So Alabama damn near lost to South Florida. You had Penn State almost lost to Bowling Green last weekend. Oklahoma almost lost to a terrible Houston team. So sometimes chaos can happen, and I hope that is the case this week. My lock of the week, I'm going to start with a game that is – actually, I'm going to grab my remote and turn it because it's probably going to kick off here any minute. Alabama is on the road at Wisconsin this morning. I have seen Wisconsin play football early in this year. I also have noticed that Alabama struggled last week, yes. Wisconsin is not a good football team. That is not a good football team. Alabama's big issue last week was creating push up front. Their offensive line, for whatever reason, couldn't do it against South Florida. So maybe that'll make you feel better as a Duck fan. That other offensive lines are also struggling early in the year. And their starting left tackle, their all-world left tackle, has been out the first 2 weeks of the season. He's back this week.
Roll.
That, to me, has bloodbath written. I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see Alabama lose. That, to me, is the easiest lock of the week, is Alabama's going to win that game by 3 touchdowns. That is going to be a bloodbath today in Madison, Wisconsin.
Won't be close.
Do we think that Colorado can get off the schneid again and get a win? Are we all going to hate watch that one this afternoon?
Oh, I can't wait for that one. All right. We love you, Dion, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
See, what you believe now, huh? Do you believe now, Anthony? So there you go. There's my lock of the week. I'm taking Alabama to blow out Wisconsin. And that, I think, will happen, and it's about to kick off on Fox. That's the big noon game of the day. Lock of the week brought to you by Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish. Legends Casino Hotel within winning distance. Let's get to our keys to the game in this matchup, the 128th Civil War between Oregon and Oregon State. That is right around the corner, but now it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes. Brought to you by Victorico's Mexican Food. Order Victorico's for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victoricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
Still looking pretty clear on the drive down to Corvallis so far. Maybe a little rubbernecking due to a northbound accident just south of the river after passing through Wilsonville at exit 282. Reports of a smoky right near Boone's Ferry Road. 61 and cloudy here in Portland. Clouds will stick around throughout the day with a high of 73. It's 56 and mostly cloudy in Corvallis. Should be partly cloudy, 68. Just a slight breeze for the 12:30 kick at Reeser. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food.
If you're considering new construction and want it done right and fast by a team that's focused on innovation, collaboration, and creativity, you want Mods PDX. At Mods PDX, we craft beautiful, sustainable, energy-efficient buildings of the highest quality. Our modular approach means your project can be completed faster than traditional construction, and our team of uniquely qualified architectural and trade professionals have the expertise and experience to make your vision a reality. Visit us today at modspdx.com.
From the mind of a 2-foot-tall talking spokes puppet comes this year's biggest challenge. It's time for Bob's Dare to Compare, the hottest game show on TV that asks, what happens when you compare Bob's to the competition? You get style. You get quality. You get beeps and boops and dings and whomps. And thousands of dollars in savings. Everyone's a winner when you dare to compare with Bob's Discount Furniture. Shop in store or at mybobs.com to play now.
Paul's new drone startup just lost its most genius computer scientist.
We just lost our best genius to some new genius who's got a genius new idea. I'm going to have to find a new genius, or two half geniuses, and fast.
He needs a computer scientist that can keep his startup from falling down.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Looking for a better primary care experience? Welcome to Zoom Care. Zoom Care is here for more than urgent needs. We can be your PCP too. Our primary care team has grown and is currently accepting new patients. Don't wait for the care you need. You can have your first visit with one of our many providers within 48 hours. And we take most insurances. Why wait weeks for an appointment when you can be seen today? Learn more about establishing primary care at zoomcare.com. Zoom Care. Beyond better healthcare.
Your home for Oregon Ducks football is KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland.
Can he get green as speed? He does. Franklin scores.
1080 The Fan. An Odyssey station. Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day. Mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
I think there's two ways to create explosive plays from players, and that is everybody wins their one-on-one. You get explosive plays, or we have extreme detail in how we play.
It's time for the Audi Wilsonville Keys of the Game. A look at the players and units that have to have a big day for the Ducks. Brought to you on The Fan by Audi Wilsonville. Offering unmatched service to help you find the perfect car. Online at AudiWilsonville.com.
Keys of the game time, 128th Civil War getting closer and closer. Welcome back in. Andy Dirk Johnson, Anthony Newman hanging out with you for another, what have we got, hour and a half, give or take, until we send you down to Corvallis. So moving right along this morning, Alabama, Wisconsin just about to kick off. We'll let you know how the scores are going here early on your Saturday. You are 4-0 against Oregon State in your career, Anthony. So because of that fact, I will allow you to start. What's your number one key to the game today?
Well, I was going to say defense, but I'm going to talk about what offense. Establish the running game. Be consistent in the running game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say stop the run for Oregon's defense, but no, let's go with Oregon's offense. Let's run the football and be consistent throughout 4 quarters.
Yeah, we got a comment. You know, it's interesting you bring that up. Somebody had commented this morning that Will Stein, not a good OC at this point in his young career, and somebody said, I mean, they were the number one offense in the nation last year in a lot of categories. Give them time to work things out. Here's what I will say. I think when you're an offensive coordinator and you don't have a high level of trust in your offensive line, it's going to affect the way you call the game.
That's right.
Now, there was a moment in the game last week where you don't hear boo birds at Autzen very often.
I know.
But some boo birds came out because they had a drive where they basically they just ran, punted. They were on their own 10-yard line after a penalty early on that drive. And I think it ended up working out. They got the ball back. I don't think Boise State scored out of it. But there were boo birds that came out when they did that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were talking about it this week and frustrated with it and why is that happening. And I think the simple answer is that he is on his own 10-yard line. He does not trust his offensive line to protect Dylan Gabriel. He doesn't trust Gabriel to get rid of the ball. And what's the worst thing you can have happen in that moment? A strip sack fumble. You take a sack on the 2. You're punting from your own end zone. And so, look, I get the frustrations. I mean, he called a hook and ladder behind the line of scrimmage last week, like on 2nd and 10. Like, what? But I think a lot of this gets back to, Anthony, of not, to your point of running the football consistently and establishing that. When you don't do that at a high level, it makes calling a game far more difficult. So I'm not defending some of the calls that he's had this year. I have myself yelled at my TV and questioned from time to time.
We all do.
Every coach is going to have moments like that where you're like, but shouldn't have called that blitz against this look because it backfired on me.
Yeah.
Hindsight's 20/20, but I think not having faith and confidence in your offensive line is going to dictate the way you call a game.
Why wouldn't it?
Right, and you're
I mean, please, but that's why you need. This is it takes a team. It takes 11 guys on offense to succeed.
Yeah.
And not just the offensive line, but the receivers, the running backs, the quarterback. Everybody needs to play well together and be consistent together.
Yeah.
Then you'll have success running the football, and then it opens up the passing game.
Then you're taking shots down the field, and you're hitting play action, and all that stuff falls off it. I think it's a great number one key. The only other key that I'll add to it is I'm going to go to the other side of the ball with the same damn thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Stop
that's why I was confused.
That's
right.
it. Stop the run, man.
Yes, you have to.
I don't see how you lose this game if you stop Oregon State's rushing attack. It might be ugly. It might be uncomfortable. It might be 17-14 or 10-7. I don't know what the hell the final score will be. I just have a hard time seeing Oregon State win this game if you're able to bottle them up in running situations and turn them into a passing team. So pretty simple today. I think, who would love these keys of the game? Mike Jorgensen.
Yes, he would.
Run the damn ball, stop the damn run.
That's right.
Pretty simple today, all right? There we go. Ready, break. Audi Wilsonville offers unmatched service to help you find the perfect car online at AudiWilsonville.com, and they always present your keys to the game. Let's take a look at the Big Ten slate. What's going on around the conference? We have the Apple Cup in Seattle today. We'll get to that a little bit. Wisconsin just about to kick off against Alabama. We'll give you a look at what's happening in the Big Ten. That is coming up next. But now it is time for next Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes. Brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your Game Day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
Drive down to Corvallis looking pretty clear so far. Travel time, though, slowly starting to tick upward. Maybe a little bit of rubbernecking due to a northbound accident just south of the river after passing through Wilsonville at exit 282. Reports of a smoky right near Boone's Ferry. It's currently 61 and cloudy here in Portland. Clouds will stick around throughout the day with a high of 73. It's 59 and partly cloudy in Corvallis. Should be partly cloudy with 60 and 68 with just a slight breeze for the 12:30 kick at Reeser. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food.
Your home for Oregon Ducks football is KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland.
Intercepted! Nice photo! Nice photo!
1080 The Fan. An Odyssey station. It's time to take a look at this big, beautiful coast-to-coast conference.
More Big Ten teams, they will benefit. I can't wait for it.
This is the Big Ten Preview. A look at the conference schedule on the Odyssey app. And your home for Oregon Ducks football. 1080 The Fan.
We're going to hear from Dan Lanning coming up in a moment, the Coach's Corner. He joins Isaac and Suk every Thursday. Hear what he had to say this week heading into the 128th Civil War. Let's take a look around the Big Ten, the B1G. Here's one thing I'll say, Anthony, and Oregon clearly has not looked the part and has been a little terrifying for the fan base the first 2 weeks into the season. I look around the rest of this conference, though, and there's not a lot of teams that you can point to that say haven't done the same exact thing.
Exactly right.
Wisconsin hasn't looked great. Iowa blew a lead and lost to Iowa State last week. Michigan just got drubbed in their own building by Texas last week.
Yep.
I mean, you look up and down. Ohio State has looked the part in final scores, but Ohio State's played a bunch of nobodies 2 games into the season. So, Nebraska maybe is a surprise. If you're looking for, again, some silver lining in the Big Ten, it doesn't seem like it's this top to bottom juggernaut. Looking around the conference, I did mention Wisconsin is hosting Alabama. That game is just about to kick off on Fox, the big noon Saturday game. So we'll keep you up to date on the scores over the next hour and 10 minutes of how that looks. Not a lot of great games throughout the conference this week. A lot of nobody matchups, if you will. The only other one really of note, I got to be honest with you, buddy, it's the Apple Cup, and it's at the same time as the Civil War.
Thank you.
Washington State. Now, Cougar fans are pissed because this game was supposed to be in Pullman, but they're playing it at Seahawks Stadium. They're playing in Lumen Field. They did a neutral site game in Seattle, which I love. Now, it is a 50-50 ticket allotment split, but I'm sure there will be more Husky fans there. But, man, I'll tell you, the Cougs, they look pretty good. Washington, don't really know what to make of them 2 games into the season. That's a dual-screen 12:30 thing. Get the Civil War on the big screen, Apple Cup on the iPad or the phone or whatever. Find a way to watch that one because it should be a lot of fun today.
I'm calling it. Cougs.
Cougs get the win today?
Yes, they do.
Ooh,
yes, they do.
I like it. John Mateer's been running all over people. It's kind of funny watching Washington State have a quarterback that just runs and uses his legs.
Yes.
It's like, why is this Washington State?
It's a nightmare for a defense.
Has to be, right?
It's a nightmare. I don't want to see a running quarterback.
No.
Can't do that.
He had a program record, I believe, 197 rushing yards. They beat Texas Tech last week. On a blowout at home, they forced 6 turnovers. The Huskies, on the other side of that, they're 2-0, kind of similar to Oregon, where at times it hasn't looked very good.
Yep.
And they've been their problem has been slow starts, especially. I mean, they were up 7-6 late in the first half against Eastern Michigan last week. You pull away, you win like 31-9, so it looks good at the end of the game. And a kind of similar thing for them in Week 1 against Weber State. So slow starts have been their bugaboo early on in the year. Outside of that game, man, by the way, I like that pick. Let's go Cougs.
Yeah,
I'm rooting
I like
for the
that.
Cougs.
Yes.
We don't have to play Washington State anymore.
No.
So I'm kind of a Cougar fan, to be honest with you. I'm like,
why not?
We're root for the Cougs. Outside of that, Jonathan Smith takes on Prairie View A&M. Catch the Fever. That's a 12:30 game. They are a 42-point favorite in that game. Did not mishear that line. 42-point favorite. Purdue is hosting Notre Dame, fresh off their loss to Northern Illinois. That's one, I think, for fans who are driving down listening to this, you're probably a Duck or Beaver fan. Circle that one. Both Oregon and Oregon State play Purdue this year. I believe Oregon State gets Purdue next week. I think if I look at their schedule,
Is that right?
Let me double check that before I just state that. They do. They get Purdue at home next week. It's a 5:30 game in Corvallis. So just circle that one. Keep an eye on it. Purdue is hosting Notre Dame. I don't know Notre Dame fans are pissed, and they want to fire their coach. They lost to Northern Illinois, so see what happens there in West Lafayette, Indiana.
Did you hear the coach for Northern Illinois, apparently after the game, he called up Marcus Freeman.
I saw that.
And told him, like, the holes that he saw and what he saw from their tape that helped him beat them.
Interesting move.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you ever done that with a coach? You beat him, and then you called him after the game and said, hey, this is what you were doing wrong?
Never.
Yeah.
No, because I wouldn't do that. I mean, yeah.
I'm not giving away the secrets.
Really.
Not giving away the secrets.
I'm keeping my stuff. We need it again because we'll play again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you might see him again in the playoffs or something. Minnesota hosts Nevada. Iowa hosts Troy. Are you catching a trend here? Nebraska hosts Northern Iowa. UCLA, Indiana is your NBC game of the week. That sums up the entire weekend. The primetime NBC game this weekend. The best that they could find in the Big Ten deal. Indiana at UCLA.
I think I'm going to go home and have some cupcakes today, too.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around these teams in the Big Ten. Okay, Indiana, Northwestern.
Northwestern's playing Eastern Illinois today. Eastern Illinois. What a day of football we got, huh?
Okay.
But at least we get the Civil War, we get the Apple Cup. And they just happen to be at the same time. Well done, college football schedulers. Well done. Let's hear from the head coach, Dan Lanning. What did he have to say this week going into the matchup? How he felt coming off the win over Boise State. Dan Lanning coming up next. Ducks pregame show on 1080 The Fan.
Isaac Ross.
talk some recruiting with Andrew Nimick, Director of Recruiting, SB Live Sports, host of Recruiting with Andrew Nimick every Thursday right here on The Fan, 7 to 8 p.m. At Andrew Nimick on Twitter. You can go give him a follow there. Nimick, good morning to you. We all have our eyes on the offensive line today. Who will play, who won't play, who's the starting center, who's not the starting center. A very, very worrisome fan base when it comes to that position group. And we got into this a little bit last week. I'm curious to ask you your thoughts, because Lanning was asked this week how many of his younger guys up front are close to playing. He said he doesn't imagine that happening this week, but there's not that big of a separation between some of the guys who are playing and some of the incoming freshmen. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. Probably a bad sign. What does Oregon have in terms of youth on the offensive line that they brought in last year's recruiting class?
Well, I'm a little concerned about last year's class, and part of that being that they're very young. You know, there's interesting bodies in that group. Trent Ferguson is 6'7", 300 pounds. He was a lacrosse and basketball player and didn't start playing football until midway through his junior year in high school. Decided to give it a shot because his team, West Salem, was short on offensive linemen. They happened to be playing Sheldon for a game. Coach Tuioti was at the game to see his son play and was like, who is this monster mountain of a man?
Yeah.
He has no clue what he's doing, but he's unbelievably huge. And that was one of their offensive linemen. Dylan Brooks is a good football player. I like him out of Clackamas High School. I think he's an interior guy, but he's not necessarily, special. He's a 3-star prospect. Jaquan McCroy is interesting. He's 6'8", 365-pound offensive lineman from Alabama. The requisite size, 6'8", 365 pounds, probably needs to lose 30, 40, 50 pounds before he's ready to really hold the edge. Otherwise, I wonder if he's too cemented into the ground and folks can get around him pretty easily. But I think they're developmental pieces, and I think the reason they're developmental pieces is they missed on some of those big names. And I feel like I'm regurgitating what I said last week, but the truth is, you look at the way Oregon's recruited from Cristobal to Lanning, and there's certainly a lot to love about what Lanning's done on the defensive side of the ball, particularly the front seven. If there's any area where there's been any regression from Cristobal to Lanning, it's offensive line recruiting. That was Mario's bread and butter. And when you bring in a guy like Penei Sewell, it's really hard to stay and maintain that level. But the truth is, Oregon right now, there's a lot of swing and miss in their O-line recruiting, and we're seeing that in 2025 again. They're just not getting the offensive linemen they're targeting.
Well, and that's, I think, the frustrating part, Nick, because you mentioned all the other areas that he's having success in. And, look at the wide receiver class from last year. I know they might lose a guy or somebody might decommit, but you got, DeCorian Moore might end up going down as one of the best commits in Oregon history if you can get him all the way to signing day. They've had a lot of success at different position groups. You mentioned up front on defense, all of that. It feels like there's one weakness that they're dealing with right now, and that is the offensive line. Is this something that you think, if it continues and that those trends that you're talking about in 2025 continue up front, that there's a change made? Is it a coaching issue? Is it I sure as hell don't think it's a funding issue and an NIL issue. We know what Oregon is capable of there. Is it just a missing link from Malik Terry and the rest of the staff? Like, how do you pinpoint it?
Yeah, I think that Malik Terry was a young hire, and I don't think that means he's a bad hire. He was an unknown, and we've seen in the last few years, Oregon's taken some swings on some relative unknowns, including Dan Lanning as a head coach, and it's gone really well. So I don't want to criticize that approach too much because it's served Oregon very nicely over the last few years. And listen, there's still hope. Zaire Addison is a top 200 prospect in this class for 2025. Alani Kala, there's no chance.
It's too early. It's too early, Nimick. Yeah.
He's an offensive tackle, 6'4", 300 pounds, another top 200 prospect. So there's a couple of legitimate 4-star guys. But when you look at what Oregon's done at so many other positions, as you mentioned with DeCorian Moore, but Trey McNutt's an elite defensive back. They've brought in so many elite guys. And you really almost have to go back, and it's not that far, to Josh Connerly Jr. to say, when's the last time Oregon landed a really marquee offensive lineman? And you say, well, that's only a few years ago. It also wasn't a Lee Terry. It was an Adrian Clem recruitment. And since then, they really haven't brought in that big name, and you've seen them go after him and just miss. So we'll see. I think, listen, recruiting got question marks. If the on-field question marks don't get better when they get healthy, when they start to, kind of gel as a team and they start to kind of have a feel for who they want to be, I still think they're kind of feeling that out too, of who they want to be on offense with this group. Once everything gets figured out, if we're still saying they're great, but the reason they're 9-3 or the reason they're 10-2 or 8-4, whatever it is the offensive line needed to be a lot better, then I think, you start looking at, okay, if we're great everywhere else, maybe it's time. I also think clearly Oregon is going to really prioritize offensive line in the portal this offseason. I think there's very little question. You got Dante Moore coming back at quarterback. You feel good about a lot of the young depth on this team because recruiting's been so good. Yeah. But you need help along the offensive line, and I'd imagine they bring in a couple of really big-time pieces this offseason. Of course, that's a conversation for another season.
Yeah, when you mentioned those young, unproven coaches, I remember, taking a shot on Dillingham as well, a guy who, was kind of not criticized, but people wondered, that's the hire you're making at OC, and he was there for a year. And now, look, year 2 at ASU, he's got him 3-0 with Sam Levitt at quarterback. So he's clearly a good coach, and some of those young guys have worked out. We'll see if Alik Terry does. Anything else we should keep our eye on in the recruiting world for Oregon? Anything else kind of in the hopper right now?
Well, I'm excited. I know everyone's attention is going to be turned to Oregon State, but Duncanville plays a monster game today. Oh. And so DeCorian Moore kind of has a chance to show what he can do against truly elite top 15 competition in the nation. If he has a big game today, that's going to continue to cement his resume as just a truly, truly special talent. And I do think we're looking at a receiver that really Oregon's never had before, something they've never seen before. He's really, really special. And there are people talking about him being one of the best receivers in the history of Texas. Wow. That tells you just how good he is. Oregon's going to cross their fingers and hope they can cross the finish line with him. He's still wearing Oregon gloves to his games. He's still saying all the right stuff. So as far as that goes, everybody's happy. But DeCorian Moore has a chance to kind of shine today in a big matchup that I think people should keep an eye on when they're not listening to 1080 and listening to the Oregon State
There
matchup.
you go. Well played there, Dimick. I'll let you go on this one to end on that positive note. It's always concerning. I mean, it's a long ways away from signing day. We all realize that. For those who haven't seen the highlights or haven't seen him play or don't follow it like you do, what are we talking about here? What are the comps that you see when you watch him play that his game that you see maybe glimpse into the future?
I mean, he's absolutely electric. I mean, I think Tyreek Hill really separates himself because of that elite speed, but also his strength. He is able to kind of run through some arm tackles that not very many smaller receivers can. And so I hesitate to go that far. But that electric ability mixed with that speed, kind of paired with an Xavier Worthy type for a more recent draft, it's just a really, really fast player that you can do a lot of things with, but also complete. And I think Xavier Worthy right now for the Chiefs, especially as a rookie, is more of a gadget player. Tyreek is small and lightning quick and can still be your wide receiver one. I think that's kind of a little bit of a lazy comp, maybe a Jalen Waddle type, but
okay.
He's kind of got that kind of electricity. He does some things that just kind of blow you away. It's just you're shocked that this dude who's not huge, he's not the biggest guy, he's not 6'5", 200 pounds, can be a wide receiver one who can break some tackles, make some guys miss. Just an incredibly electric talent. I think high school highlight reel, if we're comparing across the nation, he might be number one. I know Jamie French is phenomenal as well, a commitment to Texas, but DeCorian Moore's highlight reel might be as good as anything you're going to see in the class of 2025.
Well, there you go. A mixture of the bad with the good. And DeCorian Moore, get to the finish line with him, and we'll see if they can fix those issues in recruiting up front. And hopefully the offensive line just looks better today. Maybe we can finally stop talking about the damn offensive line. We'll find out here in a couple of hours. He's Director of Recruiting, SB Live Sports. His show is on every Thursday right here on The Fan, Recruiting with Andrew Nimick, 7 to 8 p.m. Give him a follow on Twitter, @Andrew Nimick. Thanks as always, buddy. We'll chat again in 2 weeks.
Of course, thanks.
There you go, Andrew Nimick with our recruiting report. The offensive line, you got to find a way to improve there. If there's any weakness of landing 2 years into his tenure, I mean, that's it. You got to recruit better up front. You win up front. He knows it on the defensive side, and so got to get that going on the offensive side as well. Let's reset things, get back into the matchup. Oregon and Oregon State coming up 3 hours from now. Lots still to get to. You're going to hear from Joey Harrington and Mike Jorgensen coming up in a bit, but now it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com. Here's Jeff Russ.
The drive to Reeser still looking pretty clear so far. Travel time slowly starting to tick upward, though. A little rubbernecking due to a northbound accident just south of the river after passing through Wilsonville. 34 starting to slow just before you hit Corvallis. Reports of a smoky right near Tualatin Sherwood Road. 61 and cloudy here in Portland. Clouds will stick around throughout the day with a high of 73. It's 59 and partly cloudy in Corvallis. Look for partly cloudy skies, 68, with just a slight breeze for the 12:30 kick at Reeser. I'm Jeff Russ with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes. Brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food.
Ducks Game Day continues.
Catch and return. Whittington's going to go back. 10. Gets a crease. 20. Bumps into a player. Cuts off a 30. Gets outside. He's got some speed and a block. He's at the 50. He's got a block and speed. One man to beat. 30. There's the block. It's a 10. That's a touchdown, Oregon. Noah Whittington.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day, an insider's preview of today's game between the Oregon Ducks and the Oregon State Beavers. Oregon Ducks football on 1080 The Fan is brought to you by Coors Light, Pacific Office Automation, Mods PDX, Victor Rico's Mexican Food, Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish, by Zoom Care, Bellagio's Pizza, Multnomah County Behavioral Health Division, Audi Wilsonville, Laurelhurst Market, by Unitas Community Credit Union, and by Langdon Farms Golf Club. Now, here are your hosts, Andy Johnson, Dusty Hara, and former Ducks and NFL star Anthony Newman, with Ducks Game Day on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
All right, hour 2 of the Ducks Game Day on 1080 The Fan, presented by Coors Light, Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose chill, celebrate responsibly. Hopefully we got some celebrating going on today. That'd be nice, right? Stress-free win. Is that too much to ask for? One stress-free win. Can I get one of those this year?
You don't want to close?
I don't want to close, man. No.
Me either.
I've had two close games is enough for me. I'm done with close games the rest of the year. Can we blow everybody out there?
Subscription required. Price varies.
Oh, hey, Russ, come on. Cut me off over there, man.
Palms up?
Yeah, but yes, that's always a good look when you look in. The producers go like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what that was.
What's going on
we
here?
got palms up over there. Quick score update for you. My lock of the week not looking great early on. Wisconsin's got a 3-0 lead on Alabama, and that is with their starting quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke. He went down and had to be carted off. I'm assuming a very serious injury, and he's going to be out, not going to play. Didn't look good. He was in a lot of pain, and they kicked a field goal on their opening drive. Alabama missed their field goal on their opening drive. So, something there. Early. It's early. First quarter still, but 3-0. Wisconsin is leading Alabama. Getting closer and closer. 3 hours away. Oregon and Oregon State coming up here. We will give you a look at the rest of the scores in a matter of moments. And this is a really big game for Oregon to kind of dictate, I think, how the rest of their season goes, Anthony. You're tight, you're uncomfortable. I think a lot of the arguments that we're making about, it takes time, man. A lot of new faces, a lot of new players. Yep. It takes time, but as we've kind of hinted at, at some point that clock runs out, and you do have to find yourself and find your identity and show me a different brand of football. And primarily by that, I think the two words that I want to focus on in this segment are consistency and not hurting yourself.
Right.
And if you can find a way to get more consistent on both sides of the ball and stop doing dumb things to hurt yourself in pivotal moments of this game, I think we all agree. There's a lot of talent on this roster, but that takes time. This is a big one, though, to kind of show fans of, hey, take a breather, take a deep breath. We're finding ourselves. We're getting better as each week goes on. And if you play more consistent today and you don't shoot yourself in the foot, you got a great chance to win this ball game.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a point in the season where you start to click. Yep. You start to play well. We hope it's today. We hope it's today.
For the love of God, man.
Really. And when you do, again, it's you wake that giant up. Now they're rocking and rolling because we've seen glimpses of these guys like, oh, that was outstanding. Did you see that receiver? Did you see that throw? You see that run? And then what was that?
Yeah.
And so if you're consistent and you're a good football team and you don't beat yourself, there's no way other teams can beat you. Seriously. I mean, with the talent that they have.
It's funny, too, because you look at Dylan Gabriel's numbers on the year. And if you didn't watch either of the Oregon games, he just looked at his box like, hey, how's Dylan Gabriel doing this year in Eugene? Week 1, He was 41 of 49, 380 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yes.
I believe program records for completions and yards in a debut and all that stuff. Followed it up with 18 of 21 for 243, 2 touchdowns. So his completion percentage on the year is 84.3%.
Yeah.
He has not thrown an interception, and his quarterback rating is 177.9, which is near the top of the nation.
Right.
It's funny because you see, again, it gets back to the glimpses, and when he's given time and when he's in rhythm in the offense, he's clearly firing at a very good clip.
Correct.
It's just about cleaning up sacks and cleaning up those bad plays. But I thought one thing that stood out last week that will help you offensively tremendously is they at least finally found some explosive plays. They didn't have any in the first game of the season.
Right.
Evan Stewart down the sideline, Evan Stewart on the crossing route on the touch, Trayshawn Holden on the touchdown. They found explosive plays, and as a defensive coordinator, that's got to drive you mad because you can bottle them up, bottle them up, and then boom, there goes a 70-yard completion.
True, but there was one thing that I saw that didn't look good. Third down conversions.
Yep.
They were 4-12 last week.
Not good.
You have to keep moving the football. And now your defense comes back on the field and they get more snaps. They get more tired. They're getting tired. So third down conversion, you have to be better.
Big stats to keep an eye on today. Continue drive, stay on the field. The same goes the other way on third down on defense, getting off and having those momentum swings in a rivalry game. Those are going to be pivotal for Oregon today. We're gonna talk to Dusty coming up in a bit. He's live down in Corvallis, so that'll come in a few moments. We'll hear from Joey Harrington, of course, Mike Jorgensen, as we always do. We got some scores rolling in around the country, and we'll let you know what's going on across the world of college football here very early on this Week 3 Saturday. That is coming up next. Ducks pregame show on 1080 The Fan.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a health
Take a look at some scores around the country. We'll talk to Dusty Hara in a few moments live down at Reeser Stadium. Getting closer. He's going to be on the network pregame, which starts in 45-ish minutes. We're going to wrap up at 10:30. We'll send you down to Corvallis. We'll have you the rest of the way until kickoff right here on the Fan, 12:30, Oregon and Oregon State. Good game early on this morning is Alabama-Wisconsin. That is a 3-0 game still. Wisconsin was driving. They had the ball on the Alabama 39-yard line going in. They went for it on a 4th and 1, and the play got blown up in the backfield. Alabama's got dudes, man.
Yes.
They got dudes.
They have guys that look like Tarzan.
But Alabama gave them a little bit of a gift, one of those things you need. Alabama missed their own field goal.
They did. They missed their own field goal.
Those are the kinds of things you need for an upset.
The kicker.
Damn kickers, man. Damn kickers.
They don't look like Tarzan.
No, kickers don't look like Tarzan. Alabama's defensive line, they look like Tarzan. 3-0 is your score there early on. Wisconsin still with the lead. Russ mentioned Alabama missed a field goal. Alabama will get the ball back on their own 40-yard line. Oklahoma State and Tulsa just getting underway into the first quarter at Tulsa. Oklahoma with a 7-0 lead. They're one of those contenders to win the Big 12 and maybe make a college football playoff. We have South Carolina. They got a 7-0 lead over LSU early on in that game. To just sum up the entire weekend slate, that was your college game day game. South Carolina hosting a LSU team that has already lost, by the way, to USC. They're already a one-loss team.
Yeah.
That was your college game day site. Cool for South Carolina. There's passionate fans down there, and they haven't hosted game day in like 10 years. Not a lot to choose from, though. They got a lead 7-0 first quarter in that game.
SEC.
SEC, yeah.
That's what that is.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Michigan's got a 7-0 lead over Arkansas State end of the first quarter, but Arkansas State has the ball on the 9-yard line going in. Boy, oh boy, that would make Michigan fans freak out. 7-0 your score there, end of one. And one score that I'm sure folks would be curious about, whether you're a Duck or Beaver fan driving down, maybe mainly a Beaver fan, probably. Florida State's off to an 0-2 start this year. They're playing Memphis at home, and they're down 3-0, and Memphis is driving towards the end of the first quarter. If Florida State starts 0-3 with a loss to Memphis on their home field, whoo, buddy, heads are going to roll. DJ's 3 of 3. He is averaging 2 yards an attempt. He is 3 for 3 for 8 yards early in that game. So Florida State trailing early in their own stadium to the Memphis
Deion Sanders back.
Tigers. Yeah, that's where they'll go next year.
Go get Deion.
Go get Prime back. Oklahoma State just added another touchdown, by the way.
You won't be with the Cowboys?
No. Oh, man, can you talk about an all-time disaster? That guy getting an NFL job?
No.
Coaching against Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur.
But it's Jarrah. I wouldn't put it past him.
True.
Jarrah does a lot of stupid stuff, that's for damn sure. So there you go. There's some looks very early on your Saturday. Alabama and Jalen Milroe, by the way, just had a big chunk run, so they're all the way down to the Wisconsin 30-yard line. 3-0 there early. Not a ton going on early on in the slate, but lots of games throughout the course of the afternoon. And dare I say, the two best at 12:30, the Apple Cup and the Civil War. Let's hear from Dusty. He's down in Corvallis getting set to do the sidelines and the broadcast and all that. So Dusty Hara live from Reeser Stadium. That is coming up next, but now it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
The drive to Reeser still looking pretty clear so far. Travel time ticking up a little bit, though, starting to slow a little as you exit Salem. And again, as you approach 34, and then 34 starting to slow just before you hit Corvallis. Looks like a Smoky reported just north of Kaiser. 62 and cloudy here in Portland. Clouds will stick around throughout the day with a high of 73. It's 59, partly cloudy in Corvallis. Should be partly cloudy and 68 with just a slight breeze for the 12:30 kick. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's Mexican Food for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
This is the story of the one. As a warehouse manager, her job is to transform chaos into clarity and to see patterns where others see problems. Luckily, she's got a partner who shares her perspective. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products, backed by real person support and in-depth online resources, so she can tackle every task with precision and turn potential setbacks into streamlined success. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Every business faces challenges, but complicated, expensive, and uncertain shipping shouldn't be one of them.
With USPS Ground Advantage from the United States Postal Service, you can avoid all the noise.
No more unexpected surcharges, hidden fees, or complex rate structures.
It's just easy, cost-effective, and dependable shipping. Tune your business's frequency to success and turn shipping to your advantage. Learn how at USPS.com/advantage. USPS Ground Advantage. Simple, affordable, reliable.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
Getting you ready for Oregon Ducks football. This is Ducks Game Day, presented by Coors Light, Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
All right, let's head down to Corvallis. Talk to Dusty Hara, sidelines, Oregon football, of course, right here on The Fan every week, every day, every week, every day, every month. He's here. We love him. He's the fan man. He's Dusty Hara. Dusty, feels weird to have it in week 3, but dare I say, we got at least Thanksgiving weather. Kind of feels like a November game, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It feels like fall. It's crazy to think that we have this game in September and it's supposed to be 70, but the little bit of cloud cover, a little bit of crispness in the air, it does. It feels like fall finally.
You got any insight on Matthew Bedford? I'll give you $20 if you tell me if he's going to play or not, huh? You got any inside tips for me?
I don't have any inside tips, but look, if the guy has suited down the last 2 weeks, we're obviously getting really close.
Yeah.
And I think that one thing that we need to kind of pump the brakes on, because we see a guy who is an honorable mention All Big Ten and transfers in, there's a spot to be taken. I mean, I don't know a guy coming back from injury if right away he's going to be, to quote Neil O'Shea, the panacea for what has been plaguing this offensive line. And I don't know if it's going to be, the catch-all and everything is hunky-dory after that. But I really do. I think on the bright spot of how Boise ended, I think they did find something with the rotation in that offensive line in the second half, where you saw going left to right, Connerly, Strother, Poncho, Marcus Harper moving from left guard to right guard, and then Connerly. I mean, running for 93 yards in that second half. That's nothing to shake a stick at. That's some production in that second half. So hopefully they can build off of that, and maybe we see a little bit more of that rotation.
Dusty, what's your vibe today? What do you feel? I mean, what's going on in your mind down there? You got a feel of what's going on. I know you know what's happening. What team is going to show up for Oregon?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even seen the team yet. We did our mic checks. And now we're just up in the box making sure on the technical side everything's getting in. But, I mean, if you want to go off of what the vibes were on Wednesday when I went down to Eugene and grabbed our pregame interview with Trayshawn Holden that we'll hear from in a little bit, it was that this team is still upbeat, man. And I don't think that there is a good taste in their mouth from the way that the first 2 games have gone, just like the fan base too. But, we'll see come pregame warmups. This is a rivalry game. Q, you know how much this game means to Oregon and Oregon State and the guys that are from the state of Oregon. I love hearing what Bryce Betcher had to say earlier this week, that they're running that 2022 game on repeat in the facility. They have a sour taste in their mouth, and that game means a whole heck of a lot to every guy who's from the state of Oregon.
You mentioned when you look at this matchup, I really like it just because of what Oregon's bringing to the table defensively, but there was a lot of good with the bad last week. I mean, you'd have play where you bottle them up, and then there's a 70-yard touchdown run. What did you make of the way Oregon's defense played last week? And I imagine they're kind of salivating over, one, not having to play Ashton Genty again this week, but playing a team that's a little one-dimensional, at least early on in the season, and trying to take their strength away.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that Ashton Genty performance, and Q, you talk to this of what sudden change means to a defense and coming off the bench. I mean, the Genty 70-yard run comes off a sudden change where the defense is trying to, fix, maybe some of the errors from before, feeling really good about themselves and the momentum that they've been building. The offense is driving down, and then boom, sudden change, play one out of the gate, and it goes 70 yards for a touchdown. Sudden change is hard. You look at the other long run that he had a 31-yard run, right? What play was that on the drive? It was play number 1 of the drive, right? And so sudden changes are look, that's where Oregon needs to be better, right? Because you can say, if you take away that 70-yard run on the first play, if you take away the 31-yard run on the first play of the drive, but you can't, right? 192 yards is 192 yards, no matter how you slice it. So I think that is where their mentality is. The fact that they held him on 12 of his 25 carries to 3 yards or less, that's a pretty successful day when you're going up against Ashton Genty, because he's an NFL back in every sense.
Last thoughts from you, Dusty. I know we're going to hear a ton from you today, coming up in a bit on the pregame show, and then obviously throughout the broadcast today. Just, are your keys as simple as Mike Jorgensen and what he's going to yell at us in a few moments? Run the damn ball and stop the damn run. What are you kind of looking forward to with this matchup?
I walked in this stadium at 7:40 a.m. and Mike Jorgensen was already just yelling to the clouds to run the damn ball.
It's walking around the hallways.
Run the ball! No, but it is true. I mean, you run to pass, and we saw when Oregon had the ability to run the football, it allowed Dylan Gabriel to uncork a few throws, and there's 2 that he wished he would have connected on, but it truly is. I mean, when you can run the football, it opens up everything that Will Stein wants to do offensively. Outside of running the ball, I think it's a self-inflicted wounds. You can't have any more of them, right? Yeah. I mean, that is it, whether it's penalties on an explosive play or it is a costly turnover in a momentum-shifting time. I mean, it's what we've seen over and over again, and we've seen in 2 different games. They've done it in a variety of ways, whether it was against Idaho or it was against Boise State. It was fewer blown assignments against Boise State, but fumbles, turnovers, explosive plays that were called back. I mean, I think it is just cleaning up and having a tighter game. That to me is the most important thing for this Oregon team. See how clean you can play for 60 minutes.
Agree completely. Yeah, it's one thing to do it for 2 weeks. You say, oh, well, it's early in the year. You start piling up that into week 3, week 4, week 5 as the season goes on. Becomes a trend. It becomes who you are. And so hopefully they can clean all that up today. Dusty Harrow is going to be on the call today down on the sidelines at Reeser. I can't wait to see what that vibe is like. The stadium should be electric, I'm imagining. Thanks for hopping on, buddy, and have a great call this afternoon.
All right, fellas, it was a pleasure. We're almost a quarter of the way through the season after today.
What the hell?
What? Come on.
What the hell? What the hell happened?
Think about that. I'm sorry. You know what? We didn't need that today.
No.
I apologize for that.
We haven't even hit our stride yet, man. It's a quarter mark. We got to hit our stride at some point. You're scaring me now, man. There you go. Dusty, thanks, buddy. There you go. Dusty Harrow down there in Corvallis getting ready. He will be on the call. And on the pregame show, their pregame show starts in a little over a half hour. You're going to hear from Joey Harrington coming up in a bit. Mike Jorgensen's going to come on and yell, run the football a bunch of times. That's in a matter of moments.
Run the ball.
Run the ball. That's what we got to do. Let's get to our game to watch. There's not a lot of them. I think it's an easy one to pick. That is coming up next. Ducks pregame show on 1080 The Fan.
entertainment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. Find out which game across the country our hosts are most interested in. Other than our game, of course.
Never a good look when your conference champion can't beat like an 8-4 team from the SEC.
This is the game to watch on your home for Ducks football. The Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Well, we've highlighted throughout the course of the pregame show today. Welcome back in. Editor Johnson, Anthony Newman hanging out with you. It's not a very good day of football. Not a great slate. It's actually a good day if you got some, chores for the wife, or you got some things around the house. Watch a Duck game, and then after, maybe get some stuff done this evening, or if you're walking around the house this morning listening, hopefully you're accomplishing some things.
But Saturday's college football day.
It is, I know. I mean, I'm not going to do anything of importance today. I'm not saying I'm going to do it.
Today's a day for day drinking.
Yeah, today, God, I'm going to be laying my fat ass on the couch watching football all day,
Yard work.
That's what I'm doing.
What?
I think my game to watch, though, outside of Oregon and Oregon State, is the Apple Cup, man. I'm really excited to see how that matchup looks, the animosity that exists that we're going through right now, Oregon State and how they feel about Oregon. It exists up there. Don't also forget that Washington stole Washington State's athletic director.
Oh, that's right.
So
that's right.
They got Pat Chun. They took him away from the Cougs. That happened after their AD left for Nebraska after like 6 months on the job. He bolted, and they went and stole Washington State's AD. So a lot of hatred. There is always hatred in these games, but I think this year, because of the dynamics of the last year, it is going to be at another level of vitriol, and that I'm excited to watch that.
Well, it's like Oregon State and Washington State saying, "You left us."
Yeah.
You left us.
You don't want us?
You left us hanging.
Now we're going to come beat you.
That's right.
That's what they're trying to do.
That's why Washington and Oregon have to win today.
Yes. Oh, gosh. Yeah.
You have to.
Don't let it happen. Don't do this to me. Don't.
I know.
Jesus, take the wheel. Don't do this to me, man. I can't handle it. So I think that's easily the game to watch today. Outside of Oregon and Oregon State, we got nice football here in the Northwest, and the Apple Cup Civil War. It's just dumb they're on at the same time. But, hey, 2 screens, modern technology, it's a hell of a thing. We'll all find a way to watch. Let's hear from Joey Harrington. What did he have to tell Isaac and Suk yesterday as he hops on every single Friday? That's next as we continue the Ducks pregame show on 1080 The Fan.
Ducks legend.
That's very kind of you to say. I would call myself somebody who's been around for a long, long, long time and wants to tell some nice stories.
Here with Isaac and Souk on The Fan is Joey Harrington. Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Hey, I got a question for you, okay?
Yes.
And we've already bet on this. I already brought this up on the show, and we differ on how we think you'll answer. Okay, so what if I told you that Oregon State wins this game, but I will then guarantee your Ducks a spot in the college football playoff? Are you taking that? With the alternative being you just play out the season.
No, I'm playing out the season.
So I was right.
All right. I thought you take the guaranteed playoff spot.
No. No, I'm playing it out.
Even the way they've looked in the first 2 weeks, you're like, you can't handle losing to the Beavs?
This year's just different, right? And it's a different. You know, you say, oh, this year's different because there's a lot riding on it. You know, winner goes to the Rose Bowl. You know, those years of what was like 06, 7, 8, 9, where like the winner of the Civil War went to the Rose Bowl. This year is different because, well, we left them for dead. Yeah. I mean, it was, and we've talked about this. I mean, it was the, I mean, I can't use the proper adjectives on radio, but it was the worst thing. Like, I still cannot believe that Oregon State and Washington State got left out like that. Like, just completely left out in the cold. So there is a little bit of, well, you damn well better back it up. Like, you know, if you're going to leave us hanging out like that, then you better go and, you know, if you're that much better and you belong in this conference and we don't, then you better go win it. Like there's just an odd dynamic to it this year, which is kind of exacerbated by the way Oregon State has played. Well, I should say the way that Oregon has played and kind of like subpar performance by expectations, and the way that Oregon State has played. Like, these guys have run the football for 3 1/4 a game. Yeah. Like, this is no joke. They giving up a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Now, granted, like, they're not playing against Ohio State and Michigan State right now, but like, this is a pretty decent Oregon State football team, especially compared to what they were supposed to be after losing all of their talent. So, like, there's just this really weird dynamic that I don't want to lose this one.
All right, you enjoy the real big game tomorrow. Yeah. You enjoy that. Thank you.
Exactly. I will.
Have a good one. Have a good weekend. Now, Mods PDX, the future of building is here.
Hey, it's Souk for A&E Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Before getting a new train system installed, I was guilty.
Automation has your office game plan. Visit them today for a full technology assessment at pacificoffice.com.
All right, Mike Jorgensen coming up in a moment. We'll get his thoughts. I imagine he's going to yell, run the damn ball. I can't wait to hear it from him because hopefully Oregon can do it today. When you look at matchup advantages that exist in this game, There's a handful of them that you could probably point to and pinpoint for the Ducks to get a win today down in Corvallis. What is the biggest advantage in your mind, Anthony, that Oregon has over Oregon State going into this game?
I'm going to be real. Oregon has more dudes in every spot, every position. They really do. But you still have to execute. Just because you got more dudes, just because you have guys who can really play the game, you still have to play the game.
Yep.
You still have to execute as a team and be consistent at it. But that's still an advantage for Oregon because they got a lot.
Yeah.
And Oregon State's in the same situation. There's a lot of new players on their team as well. But they're not the guys that people know about. Who are they? And everybody knows about the Oregon guys.
No doubt about that. I think I would point to, I know we've talked a lot about running the ball and stopping the run and all that today. I think one of the biggest advantages that Oregon has in this game is their playmakers on the outside. They just got guys who are game changers with their speed, with their athleticism,
They do.
breakaway
Yes.
ability, and that it was on full display last week. You saw Evan Stewart have his first 100-yard game in a Duck uniform. Trayshawn Holden had the long touchdown.
Unstoppable.
Tez Johnson with a punt return. Those kind of guys. Even when you're making a lot of other mistakes, that level of athleticism and elite skill can make up for it. Now, you don't want that to continue to be the case where they got to make up for the mistakes. You want it to all kind of come full circle, but I think that's one of the main issues that Oregon State's offense has is they just don't have a game changer on the outside to help out Giovanni McCoy. And that's where I think they got a big matchup on the outside, a big advantage, I should say, on the outside. Hit some of those big plays in the passing game. Maybe you do reverse of what you've done the last couple of weeks, and those deep shots and big pass plays set up the run game, and you kind of become balanced that way. So advantages all over the field for Oregon today, see which one they can capitalize on. And if they can stop shooting themselves in the foot, so those advantages matter throughout the course of 4 quarters. Pacific Office Automation has your office game plan. Visit them today for a full technology assessment at pacificoffice.com. Pacific Office Automation, problem solved. Mike Jorgensen is coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on the first 2 weeks and what they have to do to get a win today. Time, though, for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victoricos Mexican Food. Order Victoricos for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victoricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
The drive to Reeser still looking pretty clear. Travel time getting up there a little bit, though. Starting to slow a little as you exit Salem. Again, as you approach 34 on I-5. And then 34 starting to slow just before you hit Corvallis. Looking pretty smoky-free right now. It's 63 and cloudy here in Portland. Clouds will stick around through the day with a high of 73. 62 mostly cloudy in Corvallis. For the 12:30 kick at Reeser, should be partly cloudy and 68, just a slight breeze. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food.
Yes, September is back to school and back to work, but at Crunch Fitness, it's back to fun. Hey, it's Suk, and for as low as $9.99 a month, you can join me and get access to free weights, state-of-the-art equipment, and miles of cardio. For no long-term contracts and no judgments, visit crunch.com.
This is Rick Jones of Goldberg Jones Divorce for Men. Child custody is the most emotional issue our clients face. If you're a divorcing father, the relationship with your children is about to change. But that change doesn't have to be for the worse. Kids already feel the stress of parents who don't get along, and they can thrive after a divorce. Kids trust their dads. Their dads trust Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE and get your phone questions answered at no charge.
Serving the greater Portland, Vancouver area.
Portland Perks.
Take advantage of the warmer weather, longer days right now at Forest Hills Golf Course, where you can get 9 holes in a small bucket for just $25 or 18 holes in a small bucket for $30. Get your deal now at portlandperks.com.
Ducks Game Day, presented by Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. Continues with Ask Jorgie, a preview of today's game with network color analyst and former Ducks quarterback Mike Jorgensen on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
All right, Mike Jorgensen time. I saw some great pictures floating around online this week of Jorgie playing in the Civil War, the green and yellow on. Feels like the uniforms are kind of back to that color scheme, too. Everything's turning up roses right now, man. I'm in a good mood. Civil War's right around the corner. Jorgie, are you tired of talking about the offensive line yet?
A little bit, yeah.
I could tell Dan Lanning's a little upset about it too. I mean, I was watching the coaches show this week, and you had asked him about, on the other side when they're stopping the run, and you're giving up an explosive play, and he said, all of this stuff matters, but explosive run plays for Oregon's offenses haven't really been there yet. I'm hoping that this is the week we stop leading with it and it being the most important topic, but explosive run plays, protecting Dylan Gabriel, seems like it's going to be the center focus for everybody again this week to see what that group looks like.
Yeah, it's got to be, and frankly, there's been times where the offensive line has opened up some holes, and the running backs have gotten tackled, shoestring tackle, whatever else it might be that takes them down. So there's times that when you get the opportunity for that 25, 30, 35-yard run, you got to make it. And but it's been a combination of both. I mean, Boise State and Idaho obviously did a good job of stopping Oregon's run, and anytime you can run that ball, and we all know that. If you can run it, you can throw it because the defense has to bring safeties and bring extra players into the box to defend the run. That might be what Oregon has to do against Oregon State today because of how well they've run the ball. But frankly, you've got to be able to run the ball, and the key is that offensive line really opening up some holes.
Yeah.
Jorgie, I got a question for you. I'm a little confused because, we're always hearing you yell, run the ball, run the damn ball. Okay, wait, you're a quarterback. Now, maybe you're suffering from PSD. When you were playing, you were trying to throw the football. Okay, they wanted you to throw a football, and you were getting sacked every play. So you were yelling to the sideline, run the damn ball.
Right, yeah.
So is that what's going on right now? I mean, are you just like, this team can run the football, establish the running game, and then the passing game will open up, correct? Is that what you're looking at now? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Really, that's what it is. I mean, you know as well as I do, Anthony, when an offense can run the ball and they have the ability to throw it like this team does. With Dylan Gabriel and the set of wide receivers that they have and tight ends that they have and that type of deal, it just makes the defense's job a pain in the rear if you have the ability to run the ball consistently. And that's just something that we've been used to seeing Oregon do over the last decade, is either be the leading rushing team in the Pac-12 conference when they were part of that conference, or, number 2 or number 3, but always averaging 200, 250 yards rushing. It just makes everybody's job that much easier, and that leads to a lot of points. And they just haven't done it so far this year. So I just love it when teams have the ability to do that because it just opens up so much more.
No doubt about that. Still no runs at 20 yards or longer for this offense so far this year. And James has looked good. He's averaging 6 yards a carry. And even he said some of that's on him. I got a guy in the hole, and I got to make a miss. I got to break a tackle at some point. And so see if they can get those runs going. Looking to the other side of the ball, Jorgie, it's one of the reasons why I am somewhat confident, as confident as you can be in this team after watching them for 2 weeks, that about their chances this week, because I think defensively they're really good. They just, if you can clean up the one play here or there, and I had mentioned that Lanning, he doesn't like that because the box score is a box score and the score is a score, and I get what he's saying, but I like the way you asked the question because, this is a defense. You got 2 guys in the top 3 in terms of quarterback pressures on your defensive line, and Harmon and Birch. You had 12 of the 25 carries for Genty last week, 3 yards or fewer. Pass deflections, I think you lead the nation in that statistic. Like, there's a lot to really sink your teeth into and like about this defense. You got to clean up the one play here or there. The trick play against Idaho, the 70-yard touchdown run, they just seem to be getting bit by the big play. But what do you see from the defense so far?
Yeah, I like what I've seen, and I don't, and I like the question I asked, frankly.
Yeah, I did too.
At the same time, I love Dan Lanning's answer because we got him pretty animated during the show, and he was right on the money. I sit there and I work with Jerry and Joey each week, and we make our picks, and they were saying to me yesterday, we got 11 out of 14 right, and you got 10 out of 14, so you're only one behind. I said, yeah. But that's the 70-yard run I gave up right there. I mean, you make that one bad pick, now I'm 3 behind, and that's all it takes because, last week you and I and Anthony talked – well, Anthony wasn't there, but you and I talked about the fact that, with Genty, if he goes 26 carries for 180 or 190, he's popped a big one someplace. But if he goes 20 or 25 for 125, you're okay with it. And it's that 70-yarder that all of a sudden took the momentum back the other way. And so today they got the work cut out for him. I think Derek Harmon is playing some tremendous football right now. Frankly, I'll tell you a guy that sometimes gets missed because Jeff Fossa gets talked about so much, or Justin Jacobs, is Bryce Betcher playing good football.
Yes, he is.
Guys, I mean, he's not just running around with his hair on fire. He's playing good instinctual football. He's making good decisions. All of a sudden, he's become a big factor at that linebacker position, and they're going to need him against the running backs and that offensive line for Oregon State. They've got that identity. They're running the ball well. They're going to try to do it again today because if they can do that, they keep the ball away from Oregon.
Now, let's get to the important issue Anthony loves talking about. Now, it's usually the last week of the season, but we love bringing up his record against Oregon State. He scored 4-0 for Anthony Newman. Now, I don't know how you guys crossed over in your career. What was
1 year?
1 year. Okay,
yeah,
so
he was an old guy, and I was.
He was the vet when you came in. What's Jorgie's record against Oregon State?
We never lost, but there was a tie in there. And we don't need to talk about that.
You sure you don't want to talk about that one? You don't want to talk about that one?
No, don't want to talk about
That was
that.
before
Nope,
I got
don't wanna
there.
talk about that.
I wasn't a part of that.
Don't wanna talk about that.
I wasn't a part of that.
Next question. You played in this environment. Obviously, you've called, however many of these games. We've all been around it for a long time. Seems like the energy and the atmosphere and the animosity ticked up maybe a little bit to a degree higher. The communication is going to be key. What kind of atmosphere are we expecting that Oregon's going to walk into today?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a raucous atmosphere here. I think the crowd's going to be getting after it. The stadium's finished. It looks great, guys. I mean, obviously, this is our first time here with the other side finished. It looks great. It's going to be jam-packed. And, it's a great opportunity, frankly, for both teams. I think for Oregon to get going in the right direction where people go, okay, it was a game or two. They kind of had to figure things out. Well, hopefully today is the day that you've completely figured it out. For Oregon State, it's an opportunity to make a splash.
Yeah.
I mean, people are all of a sudden saying, hey, this Oregon State team, even though they lost a ton of people last year, is still pretty good. Today will prove a lot. And, there's always that chip on the shoulder of being left behind and not being part of a new league and trying to figure out what it is going forward. And it looks like that's happening. I'm really excited about it, frankly. But there's a lot of things playing into today's game, and frankly, just that the game. And I always want to say Civil War. I know it's not the Civil War, but Anthony, that's you and I. That's
all we know.
Remember.
That's all I know.
And just thinking in my mind, that brings the intensity to this game right here.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
can't wait. We're going to send it down to you guys here in a matter of moments. Georgie, have a great call. Run the damn ball, and we'll catch up again in 2 weeks. Okay, buddy?
Okay, guys. Thanks a lot.
There you go. Mike Jorgensen, color analyst of the Oregon Ducks. We love talking to him every single week. And run the ball. Pretty simple this week. Run the ball, stop the run. And he did. He asked Lanning a question on Wednesday. Lanning kind of snapped, not at Georgie, just the idea. Because to Georgie's point, I mean, it was a great response of like, hey, you did a great job bottling him up. He's like, but the 70-yard run counts. That,
Yeah, I know.
I don't care if we did great 94% of the snaps. If you blow up one on one play, that's all that it takes to lose potentially a football game. And so I liked the question. I liked the answer. Let's find out what's at stake. We'll make our picks for the most impactful games around the country, including this one, as only 2 more segments left in our pregame show. Back after this on 1080 The Fan.
Games in college football. Brought to you by Laurelhurst Market. More than just your friendly neighborhood steakhouse. Make your reservation today at laurelhurstmarket.com.
Make sure to tune in later on today to the Pacific Office Automation postgame scoreboard show and listen for the Game Day secret score and you will have a chance to win a $100 Lower Horse Market gift card, which Sprague and I will give away in the 7 a.m. hour on Monday morning. So you listen to the show today, then tune in Monday morning in the 7 a.m. hour. You listen to what the secret score number is, text it in, and you'll have your chance to win that $100 Lower Horse Market gift card, which we give away every single Monday throughout the course of the football season. What's at stake, man? I hate to sound like a broken record. I know you weren't there last weekend when we were down getting ready for the Boise game, but what's at stake is finding out who this team is. It's just learning about who your football team is. 2 weeks in, I think we can all understand sluggish starts are going to happen. But as we continue to reiterate, at some point you got to find your stride. At some point you got to start playing better football. And so what's at stake for me? Who the hell are the 2024 Oregon Ducks? I think we get a clearer picture of that today down at Corvallis.
Well, you need to find out who you really are. And that has to come out today in this game. And what's at stake? You can't lose this game. That's the bottom line. This one, nah. Maybe last week. Okay, maybe. Sure. Not this one.
No. I'm moving to Vancouver if we lose this game. I'm getting out. I'm getting out of the state. I'm out of here, man.
No.
What's at stake is a whole of a hell lot. That's what's at stake, and it is brought to you by Lower Horse Market. More than just your friendly neighborhood steakhouse. Make your reservation today at lowerhorsemarket.com. We'll make our final picks for this game. Give you a couple of quick score updates as we wrap up our show coming up next, and we'll send you down to Corvallis here in a matter of moments. Back after this on 1080 The Fan.
He's got blockers. 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Ducks!
It's time for the Line to Watch, where our Ducks Game Day hosts responsibly look at the number on select college matchups and predict the score of today's Ducks game. Don't worry, we'll check their work after the game on the post-game scoreboard show. The Line to Watch is brought to you by Multnomah County Behavioral Health Division. Don't let the game play you. For more information on problem gambling prevention and treatment resources, visit opgr.org.
Before we get to our final thoughts on this game and some line predictions, give you a quick look around the country. Alabama's got a 14-3 lead over Wisconsin late in the first half there in Madison. Not a surprise. Wisconsin starting quarterback Tyler Van Dyke went down with an injury. And so not a shocker there, but that is a 14-3 game towards the end of the first half. Really the only other game of note that's going on right now, LSU in South Carolina, I believe, is 17-7 currently right now. South Carolina with a lead in the first half at home. And then Florida State, who we have talked about throughout the course of the morning, they are actually on the board, so I'll give them that. They are trailing Memphis near the end of the first half, 10-3 in their own stadium. DJ Uiagalelei has like 9 completions for 30 passing yards and an interception.
7 of 14 for 31 yards.
7 of 14 for
31 yards.
31 yards on 7 that's really bad football. So hey, a silver lining for Duck fans, you're struggling but winning. It could always be worse. It could always be worse. Final thoughts on this one, Anthony. How we feeling? Thoughts? The spread going into the game, 16. Do we get a covered spread?
Yeah, I think Oregon wins by 14. I think it's going to be a tough game. It's a rival game. Come on.
Yeah.
But Oregon, I think they start to click, find their way, don't beat themselves.
Yeah.
I think they play well.
I'm going to go sluggish start offensively. Defense wins the day. Offense eventually wakes up. 31-14 final score.
There you go. Okay.
Which I believe would cover the spread by the hair of your chinny chin chin. 16 and a half. So. Yep. That's how I'm feeling. The Line to Watch is brought to you by Multnomah County Behavioral Health Division. Don't let the game play you. For more information on problem gambling prevention and treatment resources, visit opgr.org. Let's keep the Anthony Newman streak alive. Undefeated against Oregon State.
Let's go.
Keep it going. They haven't won in Corvallis since 2018, so it's been a minute. Time to end that today. Oregon State coming up 2 hours from now. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We're off next week, back after the week. The week after that, go Ducks.
Oregon Ducks football on 1080 The Fan is brought to you by Coors